one. Hello, Alonzo Bodden.
Joe, I am negative.
I know, but you're positive.
You're
a positive person.
I'm a positive person. Life is good, but the test is negative, which that's always what you want to hear after a medical test.
Yeah, basically.
The test is, I'm trying to think, is there anyone where you want to hear the results were positive? I think you always want to hear, yeah, this one came up negative.
Yeah, how come no diseases ever make us better? There's not like a disease. It's like a Marvel comic book where you catch it.
Yeah, how come I can't get hit with gamma radiation?
Right. Like, look what happened to the Hulk and Spider-Man.
Every time I get mad at somebody, just Hulk out. But, you know, they never show, like, everyday things with the Hulk. Like, suppose he's in a car, right? Now your car, the Hulk just grew, tore up your car. Now, hello, State Farm? Yeah, you're not going to believe what just happened to my car.
Yeah, the concept of the Hulk that's on all the time annoys the shit out of me. You know that he's the Hulk now constantly, 24 hours a day?
Yeah.
And then he's smart?
Right, the intelligent Hulk.
Come on. He's Bruce Banner all the time. He's Bruce Banner, but he's also the Hulk.
Fuck. We were talking about reading, which is what I'm doing now. And I got this book. It's like 10 years of the Hulk. It's like 1,000 pages of Hulk comics.
Jesus.
A 10-year run. And the story it's great. It's the gray Hulk who was smart, but not like the movie one, but he was smarter than the regular one. And he would only change at night like a vampire, like a werewolf. Yeah. So it's like, hey, this is how much free time I have, Joe.
Well, I think the new Hulk, they probably missed Mark Ruffalo's acting. He's such a good actor, and they didn't have enough room for him to just... I mean, there's so many people in that movie, right? You got Captain America, you got all these fucking people, you got Iron Man. They probably were like, Mark Ruffalo's just not talking enough.
Yeah.
Because most of the time we need him as the Hulk. So I got an idea.
Right, yeah,
Let's make him Mark Ruffalo the Hulk all the time. The Hulk has glasses now. He has fucking glasses. He has glasses. It's so ridiculous. No, the whole idea, you fucks, is supposed to be that he's a really smart guy and then he's basically a monster.
A monster with unlimited strength, unlimited power.
Who talks like Hulk smash.
Right.
He's not smart.
Right, like in the Thor movie where he's working as a fighter and he has like a room and he's taking baths and stuff like that. What was that movie, Ragnarok? And
I didn't see that one.
You didn't see that one?
No.
Yeah, where the Hulk is a fighter. He's like a gladiator, but he's treated like a hero and he has all the gladiator stuff, you know, and it's like, yeah, the Hulk wouldn't be doing that. Like the Hulk would just be smashing and destroying.
Yeah, I need to watch that one.
But
I didn't see this movie. Damn, that looks dope.
Oh, it's fun. Yeah, that's one of the... No, this is one of the funny ones, man. You got to see that one.
So the Hulk goes to battle, spoiler alert, with Thor?
Yeah, but the Hulk's like a gladiator, and Thor ends up on the island, and Thor ends up in the ring with him.
But it's dumb Hulk, right? Dumb Hulk's good Hulk.
He's
you don't want smart
he's
Hulk.
not fully dumb. He's not scientist Hulk, but he's smart enough to hold conversations.
What a mismatch that would be if it was real. I mean, are you fucking kidding me, Thor? Just relax.
I don't. How much Marvel were you into growing up?
Loved
were you into
it. Yeah,
okay,
I didn't like DC that much, but I was a giant Marvel guy.
Because I was a big Marvel guy, and I tell people one of the big things, and they brought it up in the first Avenger movie, and this was a storyline. I remember this. The Hulk could never fight Thor because they were both so strong they would destroy the planet. Because like the Hulk's strength was unlimited because the madder he got, the stronger he got.
Right.
And Thor's a god, which is something they never play in the movies, but in the comic books, every now and then Thor would remind him, like, I'm a god.
Yeah.
I can destroy the whole planet. Like, that's what my dad is the god.
But that's the problem. If he's a god, then what the fuck is Captain Marvel? Because that chick trumps everybody.
Right, yeah.
She comes down and everybody's got to sit the fuck down.
Yeah.
Mom's
I don't know.
here. she's a superhero mom. Captain Marvel's the number one superhero.
Yeah, she's the most powerful.
Yeah,
although
if you want to save the world, you call her.
In that last one, like when Thor went to where he got the new axe made.
Yes.
That was like... He was like controlling a sun, right? Wasn't it like the power of a sun was going? You know, it's really, and this is what I love, and this is why women laugh at us, because we're having this discussion. Right now.
For sure. But it's also what makes what is the really pretty girl's name? She's Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
What is her character?
Black Widow.
But she's just kicks ass, right? She's just like a UFC girl.
She doesn't have any power.
Valentina Shevchenko hanging out with Iron Man, right? That's what it's like. She's Valentina Shevchenko's UFC strawweight champion. That's what it's like.
And the other thing is she has a gun, but no one they fight can be killed with bullets.
I'm sorry, she's a flyweight champion. I said strawweight. Yeah, no one can be killed with bullets. And how about the dude, Jeremy Renner's character?
Right, Hawkeye.
He's got a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
But he has a lot of special arrows.
But he doesn't even have a gun.
Yeah, at some point,
off aliens.
Like you're fighting aliens with it, and you got a bow and arrow. It's like, man, you've skipped generations of weapons technology.
Yeah, and he seems to never run out of arrows. It's amazing.
That's the superpower.
Yeah, there's like the imbalance in superpower is so crazy. You can have a guy with a bow and arrow or the fucking Hulk.
Right.
Hawkeye has no superhuman powers with the exception of the period when using prim particles to become Goliath. Okay, whatever, dorks.
Okay.
He's at the very peak of human conditioning. Sure he is. He's an exceptional fencer, acrobat, and a grandmaster marksman, having been trained from childhood in the circus by the criminals. Trick shot, and oh boy. Well, I'm a big Jeremy Renner fan. I like that guy a lot.
Yeah.
However, we have to be realistic about superpowers. You got the Hulk on one hand, you got Captain Marvel on another hand, and a dude who's like an acrobat.
Yeah, Hawkeye.
Good at shooting shit.
I think Hawkeye's limit is fighting crime. Right? Like criminals, Hawkeye could take down, but when superpowers and aliens and stuff come in, that's when you gotta make some phone calls.
But I just can't buy aliens coming at you and you're shooting them with a bow and arrow.
No.
They came here from another planet, get shot with a bow and arrow. Come on. You know.
Yeah. Well, who else? Well, Captain America, like he's just really strong. Right?
Yeah, but superhuman.
Yeah,
but he's
superhuman strength.
Part of an experiment.
Right.
But he's like bulletproof, isn't he?
No.
No?
No, he
but
can
he
be
heals
hurt.
really quick or something?
No, he can be hurt.
But doesn't he heal real quick?
No. What's his name?
Wolverine?
Wolverine heals.
That's right.
Instantly.
But I thought Captain America had one of them jammies too.
I don't think like Wolverine. He probably heals quicker or could take more pain or something than most.
Captain America, has agility, strength, speed, endurance, and reaction time superior to any Olympic athlete who ever competed. LOL. The super soldier formula that he has metabolized has enhanced all of his bodily functions to the peak of human efficiency. He ain't shit.
No.
Iron Man can fuck
Just
him up.
Peak
Right.
bodily
Again.
Functions, but that's it.
Right. You can't fuck with Iron Man with that bullshit ass set of skills.
Yeah.
You're just a really strong dude. But in the movie, he's not. In that movie, he's way stronger than any person who's ever lived.
And
way
he's also
stronger.
the leader. Like he's the military strategy guy, I guess.
So he's the most sculpted.
Yeah.
Look at that face.
Iron Man tells you who he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Billionaire,
exactly.
playboy, philanthropist,
But
genius.
all of them can eat shit. I want the Hulk. I want the Hulk
I
to
would
come
go.
out.
Yeah, I'm gonna go
fight?
Hulk. I'm gonna go Hulk or Thor. Those would be my two in a fight.
Interesting. Because I think Captain Marvel comes down, fucks them all up.
She's badass.
They gave her too many powers.
badass.
She almost has too
They
many
gave
powers.
her everything except a good movie.
That's true. They keep fucking her in the movie department.
Yeah,
Why? Why
like,
do they? Why
her
don't-
movie was so like it filled the story, so you knew
Right.
who she was, but
Right.
it wasn't that great, And
It didn't match up with someone who has the powers that she has. Like look, if you're playing a game and the game's good guys versus the bad guys, on your good guy side, you want to have you'd be like real pumped if one person had way more power than anybody who's ever lived. That's her.
right, or you'd wait to play that card.
Yeah.
You'd like let people know, like, hey, don't let me have to pull Captain
Right.
Marvel. Like, don't let me have to wake her up.
Right.
Because if she comes down here,
You're fucked. Everybody's fucked. But here's the thing: like they can't figure out a way to make a good movie with that.
I don't know. I mean, again, the movie was all right, but it wasn't. It wasn't great. It didn't show
She would have to have a boyfriend.
who she is.
That's why she'd have to have a boy. Like, remember when Wonder Woman had a boyfriend?
Yeah.
People liked it better.
Yeah.
Some regular soldier got to fuck Wonder Woman.
Right.
Remember?
And you know what? No one would believe you.
Yeah, you'd have to shut up about that.
Man.
But yeah, I'm sure.
Man, I'm fucking Wonder Woman.
You can keep your mouth shut.
You're not.
Yeah.
I'm looking up Captain Marvel's powers, and a little question popped up: who is the strongest Marvel hero?
Yeah.
Do you know?
The strongest? I would either be Captain Marvel or Thor.
Thor.
I thought it would be Thor or Hulk. It says also in the Destroyer, which I've never heard of, but it says Hercules, and I didn't know
Hercules?
Hercules was in there.
The fuck out of here with that
Hercules was in
bullshit.
like a few comic books, but he's not.
Hercules ain't shit.
Hercules ain't considered part of the Marvel universe, right?
No.
Like Stan Lee didn't create Hercules.
Exactly. Yeah, you're not allowed to do that. Like, by the way, why would you have Hercules in a comic book? That's such a cheap
I do
move.
vaguely remember Hercules being in some Marvel comics, but no, he did. I don't think he counts. They didn't create him.
You got lucky with Thor. Leave it at that.
Yeah.
You stole one god. You can't steal any other mythical characters.
Right. And it was cool with Thor because in the comic books, he was human too, right?
Yeah.
He had like a human form, and then he would turn into Thor.
Did he?
Yeah. In the comic books, he had a human form.
Oh, I don't remember that. But you would think that someone else could make a Thor movie. Like, why can't they make a Thor movie? Like an origin movie about Thor the god. Can you do that?
They might.
But no one's ever done that. Isn't that amazing?
They haven't done it yet. But who knows?
They've had some movies where people pretend they're in the clouds and they pretend they're they're gods. There's been some god movies, right?
Right. Well,
Wasn't there like a Brad Pitt one?
Was there?
Wasn't there a Brad Pitt
Brad
one when
Pitt
they were
do
the
a movie?
gods? Like Achilles or something like that? Wasn't there something? Am I imagining this? I believe there was a movie where a bunch of people... Troy.
Yeah, Troy. And then
Was
they
that-
had those, what were they called? Titans or something. There was like they did a couple of movies where these guys where they were gods. I think Liam Neeson was in it. And they were like playing with humans. Humans were
Yes.
like their entertainment.
Yes. Yeah.
They've had Clash of the Titans also.
Titans, yeah.
Maybe it was that. Clash of the Titans was they did a couple of those, right? They did one.
Yeah.
The one that's from like way back in the day is hilarious to watch now.
Oh, anything with special effects from back in the day. Except you know what still holds up though? Godzilla.
It does. It's kind of fun, right?
The old Godzilla movies, like Godzilla was like he's still badass. You know, there was just something about Godzilla that he holds up. His old movies are good, and the new Godzilla's good.
Well, they figured out how to make those Godzilla movies. Like when we were doing stop motion animation, they were like, why don't you just have a dude in a Godzilla suit? And then
And then make everything else smaller.
Yeah. They just had like a little New York or a little
Yeah.
Tokyo and this dude in a Godzilla suit running around. It's actually, for the time, like really good special effects.
Oh, yeah. Godzilla movies were great. Like that. And he fought, and then they would just come up with all these different monsters for him to
Yes.
fight.
Yes, Mothra. Giant moths and
Yeah.
shit. Gamera, remember Gamera?
Gamera. That was the one that spun around. That was
Yeah,
like the
like a turtle.
that spun around. Yeah, a spinning turtle that shot rays out of his legs.
Yeah, those were
Man,
so
you know
weird.
what those were? Those were good drugs, Joe. You can't get those drugs now where you just sit around and say, man, what if we had a spinning turtle?
Those things would be on like Saturday afternoon, right?
Yeah,
You'd have to get
every
up
week.
and watch them on Saturday.
Every week there was like destroy all monsters. It was some
Yes,
kind of
there it is.
monster
Look at
thing.
them.
Yeah.
Oh, is this the old one? Wow.
No, they-
1973, it said.
Yeah.
Wow, that looks great.
Yeah.
Look at them. Those special effects. Actually, pretty fucking good special effects.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, if you wanted to see a movie today that was like that, you'd be mad. Like, I can't believe how
Right.
fake they made it look. But back then, this was awesome. Look at that.
Well, that
blowing
was
up
like-
those buildings. Why are
that's
you
like-
laughing, Jamie?
So I think they're miniatures and silly, but it zooms in on his face, and it's just, I don't know, looks
It looks awesome. Look
It's
at that.
like looking at the first Star Wars now. Like when you look at the first Star Wars now, you're like, oh, come on. But back then it was like, man, this is badass.
I know, it's terrible.
Yeah.
The first Star Wars is terrible. Like the special effects, at least.
Right.
It just looks so fake. Like even the cantina scene where they went in there and all the monsters, you could tell that the guy's wearing a mask, just like his like his face is frozen open. Yeah, man, they did what they could back then.
Yeah. It's technology, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
like the other day they were doing all the Jurassic Park movies, and we were talking about when the first Jurassic Park, like when the first dinosaur came out, that was badass. Like it was like, wow, that looks like a dinosaur, like, you know. And and they had like expressions,
Yeah.
and all of that. You know, that was, yeah,
The first Jurassic Park when those kids were in that truck.
yeah.
And the T-Rex comes over the top. Holy shit, was that awesome. That's
Yeah.
one of the greatest scenes in any
yeah,
movie I've ever seen ever.
when he looks in the truck and he blinks,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
that was, yeah.
Well, when they realize that the goat is missing, that they had that goat tied
Right.
up, and they realize the goat is missing, and then they hear the tum. You hear that? Tum.
Although, and you know, I hate to be this guy, but we do it. Like, you ever watch movies and just like you pull out the holes in the logic?
Yes. What's the holes in the logic?
The two kids would not be with the lawyer.
Yeah. True.
One, the little boy loved dinosaurs, and he knew who the dinosaur scientist was. He'd have been in that van.
True.
He would. No way the two kids would have been with the lawyer. At least one of them would have been with a scientist.
Yeah, for sure. Were there parents in that movie?
No, they were with their grandfather.
And was their grandfather the main scientist,
Yeah,
dude?
no, the grandfather was the old guy who owned
The
Jurassic Park. Right.
Right, the old guy that looked like Colonel Sanders.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, if your grandfather created this park and he hired this scientist, you're like, I'm hanging out with the scientist. Even though he didn't
Yeah.
like kids, it'd be like, my grandfather said that I can ride with you.
And Jeff Goldblum was the sexy scientist.
Yeah. Goldblum was great
he
in
was
all of them. though.
amazing.
He was just that great character that,
Yeah, you
know.
bought it.
yeah,
Especially the first one.
yeah. I love that. Drive faster. No,
Yeah.
must drive faster.
Yeah. The first one, when, he had some great points, you
Yeah.
know, about why'd you do this. It was just like, you bought him.
Right. You bought his science. His
yeah.
science made sense.
Well, you could tell he's fucking smart as shit.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, when he's playing a guy who's smart as shit, you're like, all right, I buy it.
Although that is one situation. When a T-Rex is chasing you, that's one of those situations where I don't have to be faster than a T-Rex. I just got to be faster than you.
That's not true, because the T-Rex would eat you so quick. Yeah, there's the goat leg falls down.
Yeah.
The dinosaurs only have a total of 14 minutes of screen time in this.
Perfect.
Movie. It's like 100.
That was
Well,
enough.
that's like an American Werewolf in London. One of the reasons why that movie's so good is you barely see the werewolf. And
Yeah.
when you do see it, it's amazing, but you barely see it.
But
you
you're
see it
aware
for
of it.
flashes. You're terrified of it. I had Rick Baker in here. He's the guy who did American Werewolf in London.
Oh,
he actually
the,
did Star Wars too, and he's saying that cantina scene they did, they threw that together on like a shoestring budget, and he just put a bunch of masks he had laying around his studio and put them on people and dress people up and shit. But they, when he did an American Werewolf in London, this was like a crazy operation where they had fake hands that stretched out. They would put like stop motion of like skin where hair is coming through the skin.
The face would extend.
Yes.
There was that scene where his jaw and I guess they had to do that.
I forget how he said
piece
they
by
did the
piece.
hair. Did they do it in reverse? They pull it through or something?
Yeah, there's only like that one quick scene where you see it, right? I think that was the one scene you said it went
I forget. He explained how they did the hair, where the hair was coming out of his skin and his back and shit. I think it took a long ass time though.
Yeah.
But you only see the whole transition is pretty quick, and then you only see the werewolf for like split seconds. You don't see it very often.
That's great because when they're doing it, they're like, we don't know how. Like in our mind, we see it, but we don't know how this is going to work. And then you have to, like you were talking about the artist who did it. He has to make that happen. So the director's like, this is what I want. And then you have to figure out how to make that happen.
Yeah.
So that when he sees it on film, he's like, yeah. But when if you nail it, then it's amazing.
Yeah.
But if you do it wrong, then it's like, oh man, look at this cheesy. Or you got to do it over again.
But there's something about things you don't only see in the dark. It makes it better than like seeing it like CGI, obviously CGI, really bright. Like that doesn't scare you. Like Alien, the movie Alien, scared the fuck out of you. You barely saw it. Like most of the movie, you barely saw it.
Because then it's your imagination.
Yeah.
And you're and that's the thing with the script and everything else, the anticipation of it or the awareness of it, but where is it?
Yeah.
Versus a slasher movie where it's just, I'm just coming through and chopping up people and
or versus like
bunch
the
of
new
blood.
Godzilla, which although it might be fun, it's like it's so clearly CGI. You don't have like a visceral react. Like if you see a werewolf in an alleyway, if a guy drops his briefcase and looks up and he sees a werewolf in the alleyway for like a split second, you're like, Jesus, and then it's over. Like there's a scene in American Werewolf in London where you literally see the werewolf for fractions of a second. It's one of the best scenes in the movie where there's a guy in the subway, this businessman, and he sees it, and you look at it, you're looking at it like the werewolf. He's like, oh my God, and he starts running, and you see this guy running away, and he's freaking the fuck out, and he's almost having a heart attack, and he gets on the escalator, and he drops his briefcase, and he looks down, and just for a split second, you see the werewolf's body move into frame, and then it shuts off, and that's the whole scene. It's one of the best scenes in the movie.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's one of the best scenes in the movie. Everything's dark and mysterious. It's when you get real clear and it's obviously CGI, it doesn't scare you.
Right. We're also so jaded.
Yeah.
We're so jaded now that it's like after this, how many movies are there going to be about us quarantined? Something happened in the quarantine, or this or that, and it takes more to scare people now. You got to be creative.
It's a transitionary point for us. And it's kind of interesting that the thing that caught on the quickest when it all went down was Tiger King.
Oh,
That everybody was like, this is the perfect show for a fucked up quarantined world.
I have two theories about Tiger King. It's like either you watch Tiger King and you feel better about yourself. You're just like, man, this guy that's fucked up. I'm not, thank God. Or you're watching Tiger King and you're like, yeah, that's about where we at. that's about where we are.
You kind of don't totally hate him. Like, you don't totally hate Joe Exotic.
Get it. I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, what he did, like he was P.T. Barnum.
Yes.
He was like he could have been P.T. Barnum if he could have grown his idea. But that idea of I'm just going to keep bullshitting people and just reinventing myself and showing them this and people went for it.
Yeah.
He
just wants attention so bad.
Yeah. That whole thing, yeah, definitely a phenomenon. I would love to see like what people, because it was worldwide, what people in other countries, I would like to get their opinion of Tiger King, because they've never seen, a lot of countries, they've never seen anything like that. You know what I mean? Like in the United States, like especially if you've traveled the Midwest or if you've been to one of those, you ever go to like the low budget circuses? Not the big ones, but the ones that like set up in
carnivals.
A carnival lot. Yeah. Like we've seen that, but people who have no idea of that, I wonder what their opinion would be.
There was one that was near my house, and I took a picture of one of the roller coaster rides they had set up, and I put it on my Instagram page because it was this janky-ass, fucked-up roller coaster that was on stacks of 2x4s.
Right.
Stacks.
Right. Well,
and I was like, what in... Who the fuck?
The guy operating it, like, he built it. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm here with my friends, and everybody's got their... Look at that. Look at that shit.
Yeah.
Look at those stacks. That's to level it off.
Right.
So that thing spins around in a circle while it's on these movable stacks of wood. Like, God forbid a fucking earthquake hits or something. That thing's going to go flipping sideways and flying off. I mean, the fact they let them do that in a park, that is crazy. Look at that.
And you just take your kid and you just throw him on there.
Yeah.
Like, go ahead, kid. Have fun.
Kid. You'll be fine.
What could go wrong?
Nothing. Yeah, I mean, nothing's going wrong right now. And look at that one. That one's over. They did it. They did the ride. Come on, get on.
Yeah. And then, it's like people were going there to the Tiger King thing and like, I want my picture taken with a tiger.
You know what's also interesting?
I trust you.
How quickly people got tired of Tiger King. Like right now, even that we're talking about it, people are like, still.
Yeah, no.
Like in and out like that.
But that's about how something goes.
Today, right?
And the thing about it is when they were doing it, even when Netflix threw it out there, because I saw it like the first weekend, because in my news feed it came up and I was like, what the hell is this? And I started 5 minutes into it. I'm like, I got to see this, right? So I just watched the whole thing. But now they had no idea it was going to be that big a hit. And now they're like, okay, what next? You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things you couldn't predict Tiger King would be a hit.
Oh, yeah, no way.
So
you'd think it'd be weird.
The marketing or whatever, people are like, what else? What can you do? Those are the ones you can't create that.
No, they caught lightning in a bottle. It was the perfect time. Because they just happened to be there with the bottle right when the pandemic hit, and it was like, what? And then people would just send texts to their friends, you got to fucking watch this.
Yeah.
Because everybody's at home looking for shit to watch.
Everybody's at home. And it was like, it wasn't a series. It wasn't part of something else. It was like, it stood alone as absolute insanity. And fascinating.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't like a big marketing push.
No, didn't have to. Didn't have, because again, once you watched it, I mean, the guy with no legs was the most reasonable guy on the show.
The most reasonable by far. He made the most sense. He seemed like a regular guy.
Yeah.
Like, that poor guy.
Yeah.
Caught up in the middle of all that shit.
Right. Whereas in any other circumstance, you'd be like, how'd you lose your legs? On that show, didn't even come up. Like, no, we're good. You're fine.
When the one dude is sitting there, the guy that wants to be the campaign manager, he's sitting there talking to Exotic Joe's boyfriend when Exotic Joe boyfriend blows his brains out.
Right.
And you're like, what in the fuck is this? You
That-
see the guy reacting like, oh my God. Like in the moment.
That'd be like you and me talking, and one of us is playing with a gun,
And just shoots
then
ourselves
just
in the
blows
head.
itself and blows your brains out. It's
God damn.
yeah,
God damn, people are crazy.
but again, what else are you gonna do? So Tiger King killed some time, and then the aftermath of Tiger King killed some more time. But then we still got like 6 more weeks. So what do we do now?
I think we're supposed to be May 15th, right? May 15th is going to end.
I think that's the latest projected date.
But the governor just stopped people from going to parks and beaches.
Well,
That was a new thing today.
yeah, I think you know what it is. This is my theory on it. Like, we can't have nice things. Whenever they give us something nice, we don't know. Like a little kid, give them
it
something
up.
nice and they break it. So it's like, okay, we're gonna let you go to the beach. It's like, no, you're not supposed to be playing volleyball and laying like just. You're supposed to keep moving, right? You're supposed to like walk or ride a bike or go surf or this or that. But you weren't supposed to just
Mingle.
gather in groups. And of course, we're gathering groups, we're partying. They're like, all right, no, you can't. You don't know
They
how
had
to behave.
specific rules. Like you weren't allowed to stay put. Like you couldn't lean on things, couldn't sit down.
Right, because
But you could go walk around.
I was riding. I rode my motorcycle along PCH, and you would see people. They'd park their car along PCH, right, and they'd sit on the car and kind of like look at the beach and stuff like that. And so I guess each one of them had a car's distance between them because you're sitting on your car, the next person's sitting on their car. Mm-hmm. But then I passed this Neptune's Net, which is like a big motorcycle hangout. And there were maybe 20 bikes in a row parked, and the guys were all just kind of hanging out. And it was like, no, man, like that, you can't do that. You know what I mean? Like a motorcycle is the ultimate social distancing vehicle, right? You're by yourself. You're wearing a jacket, gloves, a helmet. You're not breathing on anybody.
Yeah.
But when you stop, you can't just all hang out like normal,
Right,
and
right.
that was the part that I think that's where they're like, no, we're not going to do it. Because I think, this Georgia and Florida, whatever, it's like they're like the experiment, man. They're like, all right, yeah, let's let them get out, and then let's wait 2 weeks and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what it's like. It's a weird disease, man. I was just having a conversation about it earlier today. It's like it seems like it's more than one different thing. It seems like for some people, it's nothing. They shake it off. Some people, even a lot of people, more than half apparently, asymptomatic.
Yeah.
They don't feel it at all.
And that's the scariest part, right? Because you're asymptomatic and you're carrying it.
And then for some people, it's a death sentence.
And then most recently I was reading about strokes.
Yes, and heart
About
attacks.
people having strokes, like it's causing blood clots, and this was something that they just realized, like, whoa,
One doctor was apparently operating on this one guy who was a fairly young guy who had a stroke, and he said you could see on the machine.
I read that.
Yeah, that new clots were forming
see
in
clots
real time. It was
forming
like,
while
this is
he's doing it.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fucking creepy disease.
And you know what? And we were talking about this earlier. That's the doctor I want to listen to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, give me a guy who's so smart that he's working on blood clots and watching them form and explaining. Because part of the problem, the advice we get, there's so many, it's such a wide range. Yeah. And like, so if you're talking to me, I want to see doctor in front of your name, and I want to know you do so like, oh, I work on the brains of people who have strokes. Like, yeah, tell me more.
Right. Don't say doctor if you're a chiropractor either. You got to stop doing that. Stop. You're a chiropractor, that's great. People like going to chiropractor, that's great. You're not a doctor. You got to stop saying you're a doctor.
I have a friend, he's an emergency room doctor, and like I'll listen to him. Like, I'm like, yeah. Okay,
you're a neurologist?
You tell me what's going on because he knows. He's getting all kind of information, and he's literally on the front line.
Yes.
And this and that. He was funny. He said, "Man, they better not send me anyone who shot up bleach." He was like, "Don't even waste my time."
Someone must have.
It was just funny the way he said it, because he really is that guy. He's like I'll save lives. Like, he's a doctor. He cares, and this and that. But on this one, he's like, "Man, you better just don't even waste my time."
When you heard about that, you had to think this has got to be like a fucking movie. This is almost like a movie.
It's if it wasn't real, it would be hilarious, you know?
Right.
And then the other thing is that the fact that like Lysol had to put out a thing like not for internal use. Like the idea that they know there are people so dumb that they're like, we better tell them not to do this.
There's got to be a few that thought about it. There has to be a few that thought about it. There was a thing that I tweeted. I pulled it down when someone, Tim Pool, one of my guests, told me it was fake. They were saying that they got way more calls because of poisoning from Lysol and disinfectants after Trump said that. But apparently the real truth is there's way more people using that stuff around the house because they're scared and they're cleaning everything up, and they've been coming in for a long time. It's not like it happened right after Trump said that. It was actually happening right after the lockdown.
Yeah, what I read,
exposure.
It wasn't more people doing it, but they were calling to see like, hey, what would happen if? You know, they were calling. But this one is weird, and I was just reading about this. There has been an increase in kids drinking hand sanitizer. And they told the hand sanitizer people, stop making it smell good. Because kids, you know, it's like this sweet smelling. And my only question is, where the hell are the kids getting it? Because I can't find any. I can't. Where are you getting this hand sanitizer you're drinking? But they said, all kidding aside, they said because it's alcohol, it's like poisoning them.
Someone was saying that if you get hand sanitizer, someone was saying they went to a supermarket and they got hand sanitizer and it smelled like tequila.
Yeah, it has a sweet smell to it.
But if you have like buckets of that stuff, like it's probably mostly just alcohol, right?
Yeah, it's 70% alcohol.
One of my sponsors is making Buffalo Trace whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
They're donating cases of hand sanitizer.
Yeah, because they can easily switch over to make it.
Yeah, real easy, easy. It's just alcohol that tastes like shit.
Right, but
they know
kids
the process.
But kids are drinking it, and that's just.
Kid, watch your kids. Don't let them drink that shit. What the fuck? Can't believe I have to say
What's
this.
wrong with our kids? They're eating Tide Pods. Now they're drinking hand sanitizer.
Come on, man. When we grew up, while we were growing up, there's definitely kids we went to school with that if Tide Pods existed, they would have ate them. That's just kids. Kids do dumb shit.
Yeah,
They're
you got to
gonna
watch
do
them.
dumb shit.
Yeah,
it's part of being a kid. They don't know any better.
But now it's like they do dumb shit, but it becomes a viral challenge. Exactly. You know, that's the difference. Like when we did it, like there was one neighborhood kid. You know, well, let's face it, Joe. You had a television show based on that one neighborhood kid. You had
6 of those neighborhood kids every week.
Hit show based on the neighborhood kid who would feed him this. What the hell?
Yeah, I have a PhD in those people. I understand those folks. Yeah, when we were growing up, there was always a kid that would eat worms. Or I read a story about a kid who ate a slug on a dare in, I think it was Australia, and he wound up being paralyzed. He got some sort of a viral infection because of this snail that paralyzed him. And then a couple years later, he died. See if you can find that.
Damn, that's too bad.
Crazy. But kids need to know this. You can't just go eat a fucking slug.
Right.
Like they're real bad for you.
Right. You can't. Yeah. You don't eat something.
Some wild ass bug, some snail or something.
It didn't even bring up the specific story. There's something called rat lungworm disease.
No, but bring up the specific story because it's pretty crazy. A kid on a dare ate a slug.
Says it's a man. It doesn't say kid.
Oh, this is a kid on a dare.
It says on a dare, now paralyzed. This was in New York though. So this
it's probably more than one.
That's the one who read about
infecting Hawaiians with brain parasites.
Oh, Jesus. Poop eating?
Yeah, man.
Poop eating slugs are giving you brain parasites. Jesus fucking Christ. There it is. Australian man who dared to swallow a slug has died after rare 8-year illness. I think he was a man when he died, but I think he was a kid when he pulled it off. On a dare in 2010... Jesus Christ. Yeah, he ate a slug. Yeah, I think he was a kid.
That looks like a kid.
He was in a coma for 420 days. He emerged from the ordeal with significant brain injuries, but continued to live for another 8 years. Holy fuck. He consumed a garden creature on a dare in 2010. My God.
Rat lungworm.
Contracted encephalitis. Rat lungworm. An infection usually found in rodents that can also be transmitted to snails and slugs if they eat rat feces containing the parasite's larva.
See, this is how, again, this is how we get these crazy diseases for which we have no immune system defense. Like, because you're not supposed to be eating slugs that eat rat feces, you know?
Yeah, that's nature trying to say, like, what is wrong with this
Right.
one? Why is he eating slugs?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's things that gross you out for a reason. They seem like roaches or rats. They carry diseases. You see them and you're like, it's instinctive.
I don't know if this is true. I was in Jamaica. We were on some tour, and the guy said that if you like got lost or whatever you're on, he said, humans can eat what goats eat. He said, watch the goats. And if a goat eats it, a human can eat. Like if, you're in the jungle and it's just, can I eat that plant? And I was like, all right, I don't know if that's true, but it sounded like good advice.
It sounds great, but I think goats can eat anything. Don't they eat like cans?
They show them, but they don't actually eat them. I think that's a myth. But
find out if it's true that humans can eat. If that's true, that'd be amazing. Just bring goats with you. Whatever they eat, you're good.
Yeah, which means get a goat now, because I don't know which way society's going.
Oh yeah, you need a goat now because
so
you want
now's
to raise
the time
it.
to get a goat, just in case.
Yeah.
Shit goes wrong. You're like, what are you doing? I'm following my goat.
You don't want a fully grown adult goat either.
No, you want
a baby goat.
A baby goat.
A kid.
Well, yeah.
They actually are kids.
Literally
It
a
says
kid.
they get a bad rap for eating tin cans. They're actually chewing on the metal to get the label and the glue on the label. They're not actually eating the metal.
What the fuck?
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're getting high on glue.
They're into glue and paper, so we can eat
They're
glue
huffing,
and paper.
right.
Is
So
that what
can
that
we
means?
eat what goats eat? Can
I was hoping I was going to say.
Can humans eat what
I
goats eat?
feel like if you get a baby goat, he'll know you're cool. You bring in some, you treat him well from the time they're a baby, like a dog. Like if you have a dog and you've had him since he's a puppy, he knows you're cool. Like all his life, you've been cool.
But that's also like that Tiger King thing, right? Like you raise a tiger from when it's a baby.
Yeah.
But then one day it just realizes, like, I'm a tiger. You look delicious. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
but it's
you
just
could
a
never.
goat. Alonzo, you're a huge dude. You would fuck a goat up.
I would think so.
You would fuck a
Yeah,
goat
I
up. You
think
grab
I
a
could
hold
take
of
a
those
goat.
horns. Like, where you going, bitch?
I think I could take
You're
a
gonna
goat.
snap that thing's neck like a Steven Seagal movie.
Not one of those big, not one of them big mountain goats that rams you with the horns, though.
Those can get like 300 pounds.
Yeah, you don't want one of them.
What, maybe
You
what's
want a domestic goat.
What's the biggest? I wonder if I'm exaggerating. What's the biggest mountain goat? What's a mountain goat, or with those white-haired ones, those enormous
with the
white-haired, like in
horns
Alaska and shit,
that can walk on like cliffs, like
Yes.
they walk on the edge. You ever see that when they
tiny
walk and
wedges.
you're like, how do you live? And they live their whole life. Well, that's why, because they
Yeah.
live their whole life doing it. How big are those?
It gives the scoring size for some reason.
Oh, that must mean it's a hunting page. Did you ask how much they weigh? Just ask how much.
one.
How much of the biggest? How much does a full-grown mountain goat weigh?
Adult females about 180, males average 280.
Yeah, so
Prime up to 300,
Yeah.
largest 385.
385, and they're walking like a ballerina on the side of a cliff.
Yeah.
Just dangling on a little
Imagine
half-inch.
getting rammed by a 385-pound goat. That's got to be like getting hit by a car. Like, just the...
Dude, look at the size of that fucker. God damn, they're huge. They look so cool. It
Yeah.
looks like a horse fucked a goat, doesn't it? Like, look at its face. It doesn't look like a goat.
No, you know what that's like? That's like getting hit by an NFL lineman, right?
Yeah,
it's like getting blindsided
Maybe even
by
more.
an NFL lineman.
Maybe even they might
Yeah.
even more power than that because they're on four legs
They're on
and
four
they're
legs.
animals and
Right.
they're doing this all day long. You know, there's a video of a ram slamming heads with a cow. The ram starts walking towards these cows, and this female cow gets pissed off and comes. Maybe a bull. I don't know if it's a bull or a female cow, but this cow comes forward. Watch this. Watch this. Oh, it is a bull. So watch this. Is that a bull? Seems like it, right? Watch this. Boom. You're out, bitch.
Wow.
So the goat or the ram headbutts that cow.
The
The cow.
bull.
Do that one more time. Is it a bull? It seems like a bull, doesn't it, Jamie?
I think it had horns.
Let's
It's
see.
got horns.
Yeah, it's got
Yeah,
horns.
it's got horns.
Yeah, okay. So it is a bull. So that's why he's doing it too. Yeah, look at his balls too. You see his nuts.
Yeah.
His huge balls. How could I not see those? But he gets K the fuck out. He's probably dead.
I was gonna say, do you think it's dead because of the skull?
One more time.
It's
Give me
the
one more
skull's
time
the
on
same-
that.
Well, you know, if he lived,
Watch this. One more time.
See,
Just look at the ram. The ram's like, bitch, I'm not scared of you. Boom.
yeah. So if he lived, like that bull gets no respect for the rest of his life. Like, I saw your bitch ass get knocked out by a ram.
A ram
You-
that's probably 1/8 your size.
You ain't scaring nobody.
Yeah,
You know?
they just know to do that move. I bet a bull's never experienced something getting in between its horns and hitting it flat on the
Well,
top of
it's
the
never,
head.
or it's probably never experienced something stronger than it.
Yeah.
You know,
That seems like a scene in a movie, though.
I did.
This doesn't seem right that a stick can just stop it. Maybe this just one's just stopping.
Well, that's a little one. Look how
Yeah.
little that is.
And it's also probably a certain way it's getting hit.
Well, I think it hits objects. So that's what it is. It's dumb. So as he puts a stick in front of it, it headbutts the stick, which means that like if you're punching something, right? And there's a guy behind this thing, but you're trying to punch this thing here, and this thing moves. If you get to the guy behind it, you won't have any power. The power will be all in this one spot, and then if it misses, you just kind of
Yeah.
like,
And also, the animal doesn't know. Like,
Yeah.
this is something unusual to him.
right, why is someone holding a stick out?
Right.
So it just hits the stick with its head. That actually makes sense. That's a good move. Maybe like a bull with a cape, right? They make the cape look way bigger than the person, so the
Right.
bull just goes towards the massive object, right?
Yeah. I was in South Africa, and, you know, we did this safari. It wasn't like the real safari because we didn't have time. But they were like, yeah, by far the most dangerous animal is a hippo.
Oh yeah.
That was the one. Because when we went by the water, you saw the backs of the hippos, and they were like, yeah, you don't want them to come out of there.
Yeah,
Like
fuck that. Hippos are terrifying.
Yeah, and they're mean.
They're huge too.
They're mean. It's like basically it's like a tank.
And they're vegetarians, which is weird.
They're vegetarian, but if they feel a threat,
Yeah.
they grab you, they drown you. They pull you underwater because they can hold their breath for like 5 or 6 minutes or something like that, and they just hold you till you're dead. But
Oh Jesus Christ.
but they're like very territorial, very mean, and they're fast. I think they run like 20 miles an hour or something like that. Like, yeah, it's basically an armored living vehicle. I mean, a living thing that.
There's a crazy video of a hippo chasing these people on a boat. Have you ever seen that one?
Yeah. Or did you ever see like the lion that jumped on the hippo, and then the hippo just stood there, and then the lion jumped off? He was basically like, I can't fuck with this thing.
Well, there's one video where the lion's trying to eat the hippo and it's biting into the hippo's back, and the hippo's just like,
Yeah,
this is
the
just so
hippo's like,
oh, so
would you
annoying.
leave me alone?
So annoying. You keep biting me. I think it was taking little pieces out of its back. It just couldn't figure out how to get rid of the lion. They're so big.
Yeah.
But I guess, like, if you want to survive in Africa around crocodiles, you have to be so big the crocodile's like, I'm not even trying.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah, there's so many things that can kill you that this is something that's like, nah.
You know what kills elephants sometimes in Africa? Ants.
Yeah.
They climb up into their ear.
Right.
They just keep eating. They just climb all
And
the
they
way up
eat
their
into
leg.
their brain,
Yeah. Ooh,
That's a hell of a way to go.
that's got to be the worst.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
What the fuck can you do?
just,
All these
Yeah,
ants are
that's a
streaming up your
slow-
body, eating your brain.
That's a slow, horrible death.
Nature, you cruel bitch.
Yeah. But that's nature, you know? Nature's not to be fucked with.
There's a great video that I saw yesterday of a cat trying to get a squirrel. There's a squirrel, and the squirrel's on the tree, and the cat's on the tree, and the cat's going right, and the squirrel's going left, and the cat's going left, and the squirrel's going right. The squirrel is successfully evading the cat for the most part, and then fucks up. Zigs when he should have zagged. And the cat
Well,
gets
cats, I think, of domestic animals, like they have the most instincts of when they were wild. Like a cat can hunt, Yeah, you ever see him hunt a bird?
Oh yeah.
It's like if a bird's dumb enough to land on the ground, cat's got him.
Cat's got them.
Cat's got him.
They move so fast too, and they know you're gonna fly up, so they jump.
Yeah.
And then they swat you as you're trying to fly away.
Yeah, cats.
They don't even bother eating them.
No, they just kill it just to stay in practice.
It's like, why would I eat you when I can have cat food? I have a bowl of cat food. These dumb motherfuckers just leave it out for me. Like cats, you don't even feed a cat at a certain time.
Cats have trained humans perfectly. Cats are like, listen, I could, but I have a human.
Yeah.
It will feed me, and I can totally ignore it. Like dogs earn their food. You know what I mean? Dogs, like, I protect the house, or I fetch, or I play with the kids, or this or that. Cats are like, no, I will totally ignore this human, and they will feed me.
It's just such a weird pet. And what's weird is when people go deep with, like, I get when people have attack dogs. It makes sense. But I don't get the, like, servals and shit.
Right.
When people have those weird, like, half.
Yeah, like you don't want a cat that could kill you.
Yeah.
Because
they're sort of domesticated, half domesticated. Those serval, you ever heard of those things when they're trying to feed them like chicken bones?
Yeah,
they make these crazy noises. Like, fuck, man, that's in your house while you sleep?
Do you have a dog?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's a golden retriever.
Oh, it's
They're
a
like
nice
the
dog.
sweetest dog of all time. They're so
Yeah.
nice. Everybody that comes over the house, like if you came over my house, you'd be like, Alonzo! like your long lost friends. Everybody's a long lost friend.
That has been something since I've been just locked down. That thought's crossed my mind. Like, man, I should get a dog.
Dogs are great, but when you go on the road as much as you do.
Once I go back to work, I won't be able to take care of it. So, but dogs are really cool. And I have a neighbor who has a dog. It's called a dogo. You familiar with these?
Dogo Argentino.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's a fantastic dog. Like, and she said, she's a dog trainer. She said, yeah, some people have used these for fighting and this and that. She said, but if you get, she's like, I know a breeder. I'll get you a good one. You can, and it's really a great dog. And it's tempting, but I know, like, once I go back on the road, then it becomes it's either at the kennel all the time, or I got to get the dog sitter. So it's not going to work. But dogs are they're just cool, man. I love dogs.
Yeah, it would be sad for the dog. If you
Right.
did
It's
that,
not fair to the
unfortunately.
dog to just leave it.
Eliza's got it nailed. She gets them little dogs. She puts it in
And
a
she
purse.
takes them with her.
Takes them everywhere.
She's
figured it out.
We were at the Improv once, and she's about to go on, and she just handed me her dog. She's
Yes,
like,
that's
here's
what she
Blanche. Here's Blanche. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll hold Blanche.
She would just know that we would take care of it. God, that was an adorable dog.
Yeah,
Her new
Blanche is
dog's very adorable. Have you met Tofu?
No, I haven't met the new one.
Oh, super adorable dog.
Jeremy Hotz has one too. He's got a Shaq. Shaq is his long-haired Chihuahua that he brings.
Yeah, if you're a road person, a Chihuahua's really, like that kind of size dog, that's your move.
Yeah.
Like, you can just take him with you.
Yeah, but
Road, man. Doesn't it make you not want to do the road again? Like when you're
I'm
home
worried
for
about
this
that,
month?
man. I'm worried about being home. I haven't been. I haven't gone this long without getting on a plane in 20 years.
Yeah.
And the idea, like, I'm afraid of not wanting to go back to work. The other thing is, you know, I've done a couple of live streams at the Laugh Factory, right? Next week I'm doing a digital comedy club thing, right? I'm like, man, what if I get used to working without an audience?
Well, what if that VR thing happens? What if the VR thing happens and they can make it set up so that, like, you could be on a stage, you put the VR on, and the people put their VR on, and they're sitting in an audience.
I did one of those. It was weird.
For now.
Yeah. The thing about it is, what you really lose, there is an energy that comes from laughter in the room. Like you can do it. I think of it as kind of like this, or like doing radio, where people can be listening and they might be laughing. Like when you do morning radio.
Yes.
They're laughing in their car, but you don't really know that.
Right. Yeah. The people in the
So-
studio have to kind of laugh along with you to, like, let everybody know.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it works for now, and it is kind of fun and just odd doing it, you know,
Yeah.
so I don't mind doing it. Like, I hear some comics say that they wouldn't do it or they hate it. To me, it's just like, okay, this is what we're doing now, and it's weird, but it's fun.
That would be the question to ask those comics. What would you do if there was no more comedy ever again live? What if this is just the tip of the disease iceberg?
Right.
And it keeps getting worse and worse. Are you willing to accept no more comedy ever? Probably not.
No, No,
Nobody
I'm not.
would be. You'd wind up doing those digital comedy clubs.
Yeah, I mean,
I just hope it doesn't come to that.
I don't think it's going to come to that all the time. Another thing is, I was talking to a Vegas guy who's a promoter and does shows, and he said he thinks comedy is going to come back first because it's the easiest thing to produce. So he said, like, you could do a comedy show outdoors with people sitting 6 feet apart from each other and just one comic with a microphone on stage. He said, versus a band where now you got the band members on stage and all the technical stuff. He's like, comedy's just, this is where it's easy. Like, we're a microphone and a speaker.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So we could do it. I mean, you couldn't draw as many people.
But what if you just test everybody?
Yeah, well, I think that's going to be part of it too. That's I was reading about as Europe reopens, that's what they're doing. They're scanning people, like, I guess, testing you for fevers. And
I don't buy this thing that they want to, I mean, I don't want to do the tracking thing. When they talk about that, I think that's a real slippery slope. If they let you track people on their cell phones, whether or not they're sick or healthy,
right.
and you know exactly where they go and who they're in contact with, I think that's a slippery slope, because the problem with that is once they get that kind of power to track people,
they're never going to get rid of it.
They're never going to get rid of it. They're going to find another reason to use
right.
it. They'll use it for the flu. They'll use it for something else.
And it's also it's such a faulty thing to do. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
it's like, if you know you're being tracked, well, I'm going to give my phone to whoever. Like, what do they always do in the movie? They put the tracker on an animal or a car or something, and then they send them the wrong place. Well, now they don't know who. No, I don't.
Well, then
think
they
that's
make it a felony to do that, Alonzo. You can't give your phone to your friend.
Yeah,
you were trying to be deceptive.
Yeah. Okay.
I think
I
just think it's a fucking slippery slope, and I think we have to be real careful.
It absolutely is. I don't think we can. I don't think you can trust them. Trust any authorities or medical or whatever with that. It's like.
But that said, what I was going to say, you can have a driver's license, right? Well, why can't you have a license that shows you've been tested?
Yeah.
You don't need. He just has your face on it. It's a public. Like just like a driver's license,
right?
It's got a seal.
You've
got
been
your picture.
tested.
Yeah,
and
you've been tested.
However often, like once a year or something like that.
But you have like a hole punch next to the date, an official hole punch. Like, you get a bunch of them, then you get a new card. Why can't we do that? You get a new card every 90 days.
Until they come up with a vaccine. I think science will come up with a vaccine, a combination of human immunity and science will come up with something. I mean, this is like polio, was when you were a kid and polio was a definite threat, like you had to worry about, and then they came up with a vaccine.
Right.
This is another thing. I mean, disease. I have a friend who works in this, and she said, yeah, viruses and diseases and stuff, like they change, they adapt. So we have to adapt.
Yeah.
We have to stay ahead of it. And this one just caught everyone off guard. There was no.
Yeah, they've been warning us about this kind of thing, the possibility of this kind of thing for a long time. Bill Gates did a TED Talk in 2015 where he talked about it.
Yeah, and they showed it. I don't know. They looked at it. Obama talked about this is something we got to spend money on and get ready for, and it's one of those things. People didn't want to believe it. He's a guy who's. It's almost funny how smart he was. Like he just, he's like, yeah, we should prepare for infectious disease. Nah. And it's like, now, like, oh, shit. We probably should have prepared for infectious diseases.
Yeah.
And, the United States, but this is just another example of our medical system, man. We got to get it together where medicine isn't just for the rich.
Yes, for sure. Dude, I hate to say this, but I have to piss so bad. I drank way too much coffee before the show. Can we pause? Pause it. Yeah, pause it. I'm going to piss. Be right back. Sorry.
No worries.
Start it back up.
One of life's great feelings.
I fucked up. Sorry, folks. I had a big thing of bone broth earlier, and I had 2 double espressos. Then I had at least two large bottles of water.
Yeah.
So it was a real struggle. I was like, God damn it, I fucked up. I pissed before the show too. I thought I was gonna be okay.
It's all good. That's one of life's great feelings.
It is.
When you gotta pee and it's just right there, and then you get that. Yeah, exactly. He's like, It's the simple things, Joe.
It is.
It's the simple things and the simple pleasures.
That's what we can enjoy out of this pandemic. Some of the simple pleasures. You know what I do appreciate? I appreciate talking to people, because I'm when you're locked up in your house, most of the time until I'm here, I'm locked up in the house.
Right.
So I'm just sitting around, or I'm in the yard, or I'm going on. We could go on trails in my neighborhood still, but at a certain point in time, you want to talk to somebody. So I come here. I appreciate talking to people like even more than before.
What I like is the absolute silence at night. Like, it's I'll turn off everything, no TV, no music, nothing, and just it's perfectly silent. It's so odd because so few people are out, so you don't get the car. Not like where I live, you don't get a lot of cars or anything, but you just get nothing. It's perfectly silent, and it's a strange meditative situation. Like, these are the kind of things that once we find out whatever the new normal is, that's going to be the kind of thing that doesn't, like, we don't have, you realize, like, my life isn't quiet.
Yeah.
There's a lot of noise in life. And travel, we were talking about it. I don't know what that's going to be. What is travel going to be like?
It's going to be weird. Everyone's going to be paranoid.
We're all going to be paranoid.
Everyone's going to be masked up.
Yeah. Are we going to be trying to maintain distance? What are the airlines going to do?
How are they going to keep distance apart from each other? And people are already like oddly not connected when they travel, right?
Yeah.
Like, you sit next to a person, you usually don't even talk to them. You get up, everybody gets in line. You don't even really, no, very little small talk.
Well, we're herding. It's herding.
Yeah.
So now are you still going to be able to herd people? Are people going to appreciate, are we going to be nicer to each other? And you would hope so, but human nature always shows like, when it seems whenever we're given the choice of, okay, can we be better or worse? Why do we always go to worse?
Well, this is why in this situation you got to be worried, because people really don't have any experience with this kind of adversity. So this is a new thing. So adversity tests character. There's a lot of people that haven't had to develop character. They've been living these weak-ass, fucking useless, silly lives.
Right.
And then all of a sudden adversity comes and shines its ugly head, and these morons are all of a sudden dealt the weirdest hand of cards ever, where everybody's kind of fucked. And then when things go back to work again, when you're asked to deal with adversity and you don't have any character,
right?
You're a guy with character. I think you'll be fine. I think you probably will be nicer after this. I know I'm going to be nicer.
Yeah.
I think most people are going to be like, I don't even mean like nicer. I mean like a little more appreciative. I'm always nice. Appreciative.
And aware.
Yeah.
Aware of one of the problems, people are not aware of the existence of other people.
Yes, right.
So you have like if you're holding a sign, "Give me liberty" or "Give me death" in front of a Baskin Robbins ice cream, you're like, you're not really aware what that means, are you? Like you're probably going to be okay. There's a Baskin Robbins behind you. Yeah. Your liberty's probably not a life and death issue right now.
The awareness thing is it's a real problem with people. But there's people that they're barely keeping it together with the most amazing society ever, through no fault of their own for the most part. Most people were fucked up. They grew up in a fucked up house and they had a fucked up family and a fucked up neighborhood, and people did them wrong every step of the way. And then here they are, all fucked up at 35 years old. But that doesn't take away from the fact that they are fucked up at 35 years old. And if they are really overweight and they eat sugar all day and they can't keep a job and they're always making excuses, and now there's a pandemic, don't expect them to rise to the occasion.
Right. Or that's one. The other ones are we're so insulated from reality.
Yeah.
Like I briefly lived in suburbia, right? I had a house. I was up in Valencia.
Oh, that's a nice area.
It's nice, but it's too nice. You know what I mean? And it was like, it was this perfect suburbia. And all I could think was, man, the majority of these people, their life goes from the cubicle to the cul-de-sac.
Yep.
That's their day.
Yep.
I'm in the cubicle at the office. I come home to the cul-de-sac.
Yep.
And I was always like, I hope there's something in your life that makes this good, because this would be the most boring existence but that is what it's almost like that's what we aspire to. Like that's what they build every time they build one of these new communities, right?
Yeah.
Now they even the latest construction of malls. I used to always laugh about this. So they tear down all the mom and pop stores and build a mall, which is a fake town of mom and pop stores. You know what I mean? Like everything is this perfect controlled environment. And like you said, now that's all out the window. So what do you do? You know, and
right. What is going to happen to malls?
What do people do? Yeah, malls are, well,
they're already hurting.
The
right?
outdoor malls.
Oh, like REI, that kind of shit?
No, the like
outdoor, like outside malls.
Right.
Yeah.
Those might still work. But even now they showed still like Neiman Marcus about to go bankrupt because people like wait a minute, you know what? I don't need clothes.
Well, it's
right?
also people are buying shit online.
People are buying stuff online, but a lot of stuff. If you're like Macy's, you don't sell anything that people need right now.
No, not if people are hurting.
Right.
Yeah.
There's so
and what's the amount of people
it makes
buying
it
new clothes
difficult
right
to stay in business when you don't sell. When everything you sell is basically a luxury or a pleasure thing. You know,
like diamonds.
Right. Yeah. Nobody's buying diamonds. Man, I haven't seen a K Jewelers commercial.
I know, right? You don't see any of those engagement commercials now. Not right now.
Right. There's nothing. You know, it is going to be interesting because those companies have to survive this,
or don't
and then get us out.
Look, the Blockbuster's gone, bro.
Yeah,
you know things change. Blockbuster was everywhere. Remember those days?
Blockbuster was everywhere. There's one
young,
left.
Date night. You know, now these kids with their Netflix and chill. Back in the day,
we had to earn it.
We had to earn it. We had to go to the Blockbuster store, and you usually had to go with your girlfriend, right? You couldn't.
Yeah.
You couldn't just pick the movie.
No, they ran out.
That's right.
They ran out of the movies.
Remember when they would have the empty box? And
like you wouldn't see Tiger King until it was your turn.
Right.
Because your Blockbuster would have 8 Tiger Kings, and they'd always be rented when you went there. You know.
Yeah, and whenever a new movie came out, they would always have a long shelf with the new movie.
Yeah.
A lot of versions of it.
And you had to rewind it.
That's where like those made to only go to home movies came from.
Oh,
remember those
I knew a guy
movies?
who made a ton of money on those. He made and I'm not talking porn. I'm talking regular movies. He
said terrible movies.
He said what he would do is he would get the seniors in film school, right? And he would give them, what did he say? He gave them something like $10,000 and a camera and said, go make a movie. And then it was either 10 grand or 50 grand, it was something like that, but he'd give them that and a camera, go make a movie. And they'd come back and he said, and it always would be a slasher movie because they were the easiest to make. And he said, it's amazing how many women will take their top off if you point a camera at them. So it was all like titty slasher movies. And he would sell them overseas. You know, it was, you know, it was like Bikers Crazy Kill or something at a mall, you know, the mall monster, and it was all these. But he made a ton of money off of that. It was the straight to video movies with no budget, and the kids would make them. And to the kid, you know, if you're a senior in film school, like that's a great thing. When somebody says, "Here's some cash and a camera, go make a movie." Feels
to me the same way I feel about like NCAA athletes not getting paid to play.
Right.
When the schools are making billions of dollars, I'm like, what's going? You know, not quite as bad as that, but what's going on here? How much money are you making from this fucking movie, man? But it's a great thing for the kids too. So if you're a kid and you're going to film school, and some guy comes along and goes, "Not only am I going to give you the equipment, like I'm going to give you $50,000 to make a fucking movie."
Right.
Come on, make a movie, bro. You can make 50
then
grand.
You're going to make a movie. Then he's going to sell it for a couple of $100,000 or $250,000 or whatever in the international video market. But
hilarious.
It's
hilarious.
Oh, and you talk about bad. I mean, these movies were just. But that's what made it fun. Is the movies were so bad. You know, that it was like great. Like we don't really have an editing budget.
Right. So, terrible.
You know.
No special effects.
No.
Yeah.
Is that guy holding a microphone in this shot? Well,
you know what's funny though? Occasionally someone will make a movie for like $15 and it works. Like you remember Blair Witch Project?
Blair Witch, yeah.
That was a fucking legitimately scary movie.
That was a scary movie. And then they tried to do it big budget, and they couldn't make it work.
No, they fucked it up.
It had to be that,
They fucked it up. The found footage, like, what is this?
Right.
Let's watch it. Like that. Those videos. There was a whole show. There wasn't a series of movie called VHF. Wasn't there, or VHS? VHS.
Yeah.
VHS. That's right.
UHF was that Weird Al thing.
Right. But VHS was a movie about people finding VHS footage of like people getting attacked by demons, and there was one that the lady they made a movie afterwards about her. I think it was called Siren, where she was one of the characters in the VHS or VHS.
Yeah.
She was one of the characters in that. In one of there was a girl that was really pretty but really weird, and these guys took her back to the house, and she wanted to fuck them, and she's like, "I love you, I like you, I like you," and she turns into a demon and tears everybody apart. It was really wild, wild shit. But
but
do you remember part of the marketing for Blair Witch that they had a bunch of online stuff that made it seem real when it came out? And
there was
were
like
really
news stories about people disappearing.
Yeah,
and
morons
stuff like
just
that.
bought right into it.
I had a couple friends that thought it was 100% real, and we got into like big discussions about.
Those are those people right now that are talking about 5G. Fucking 5G. This is a hoax.
This is it. It is.
Coronavirus is a hoax.
It's all 5G, and it was created. But yeah, though, when people say that, like, and now have you got this? I'm sure you've gotten this. People who were otherwise reasonable send you something, and you're like, "Holy shit, do you believe this?" Like, now I got to rethink my relationship with you.
Yeah.
Like I got the one about don't take the vaccine because the vaccine is the sickness, and they're experimenting on you, and they want to, it's like, man, you gotta. Like, you believe this?
I got one from a smart dude that I know where they were, this doctor was talking straight to the camera, and the doctor saying this is not a disease, this is radiation sickness. A doctor.
Yeah.
A doctor.
Yeah, well.
Pointing, wears a doctor's outfit. And I'm like, okay, this is a guy with schizophrenia. It's not a radiation disease. They know exactly what it is. They've got it. They know the genome. They know that it came from the bats that came from the very area that the Wuhan lab was studying.
Yeah.
Okay, this is really well-documented shit.
But people will absolutely ignore that. That's what's frustrating to the scientists and the doctors, right? When they're standing there and they're listening, and they're like, we know this shit, like a friend of mine who's a doctor, he hates WebMD because patients come in
and they already diagnosed it.
I read on the internet, and he'll be like, yeah, because I went to school. Like that, he's really funny because he's like, yeah, I went to school and I've been practicing medicine for 20 years. So I probably know more than your website. But if you want, it's
I'll run those tests. Some people, but some doctors suck though.
Yeah, there are bad doctors,
so there's that too.
And that's the thing. But
there's bad everything.
Again, being home, I've watched some network TV, and I never really watched network TV, but now I'll just be watching whatever. Every commercial is either some drug, right? Some drug for whatever condition you think you have or this or that, or it's a thank you to the people giving care during this time. It seems like those are the only two commercials. That's why I say, like, if you watch too much TV, yeah, you're going to start being scared to death and believe in conspiracies because you're constantly pounded with this shit. Like, you're just pounded with the negativity, the fear, to take a drug for whatever you might feel or think you feel or whatever. And then the drugs, the side effects of the drugs. And then there's a drug for the side effect of the drug that you took for something else. You know what I mean? Like you have to take a break. You can't. I don't think you can watch upper limit 2 hours of news a day. Any more than that.
Even that.
Just give it that. Like I said, that's the extreme upper limit.
I feel like I'm not watching much, but I am checking in on news stories on my phone every now and again. I'll go through the Google
That's what
news
I do,
feed.
man. I read the news because if I read the news, I can control the amount, and I can also get different sources, different or I read a story and then Google the story and see what other stories are about that. So like when we were talking before about the thing about people drinking Clorox, and you're like, are they really drinking Clorox? And then you Google it and you're like, oh no, thank God they're not drinking Clorox.
But Clorox and Lysol put out a warning saying don't do it.
Well,
if they hadn't, probably a couple of them would have tried it.
And plus, there was a lawyer somewhere. Like, man,
Right.
I'm ready to sue Clorox. Of course, somebody's going to get sued. But
yeah. It's a fucking weird time, man. It's going to be weird when everything starts back up, how people behave. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for the best. But again, we're talking about there's going to be the worst of us that are not going to do well with this because they're not prepared for any kind of adversity. So when this adversity comes out where we're all supposed to group up together, some people are going to act out. That's unfortunate, but I think it's going to be less. I think more people are going to rise. They're going to rise to the occasion.
Hopefully. And this is where you honestly you need good information.
Yeah.
You can't, you can't have the crazy information and you need good information that has to be given to everybody.
Yeah.
Like this is what's real. Because there's always been crazy information, right? There's always been a National Enquirer and what was that other paper, the National Star,
yeah.
the Stars. That's always
World
been
Daily
there.
News.
But they never like now you have people reading that like, no, this is the real story, and the New York Times is fake. It's like, no, I think you got that backwards. Now, New York Times ain't perfect, but I think they're a little closer than the Weekly World News.
That's a real problem when someone like Trump, whenever he gets challenged, just calls everything fake news. You're fake news. You're fake news. Like, they get some things wrong. You're right. But if you just keep calling everything fake news, you're crying wolf.
Right.
And the problem is then we don't know who to trust. So if someone just – you're talking about the dangers of blindly believing the president to drink bleach. Well, blindly believing the president that the Washington Post is always wrong or that CNN is always wrong or the New York Times is full of shit, that's not – that's
well, it's not good.
But then who's not? The
It's
question
not
is who's
good
not
because,
full of shit.
And there is, the news is politicized and there's left and right and this and that. But papers like the Washington Post, the New York Times, the LA Times, they do a pretty good job. They've been doing it for a long time. And if you read it, they've attacked both sides. When things, when someone makes a mistake, they call them out on it and this and that. And you got to, if you lose trust of that, then who do you trust? Now's when the crazy comes in. When you start believing the Weekly World News and doubting the New York Times.
What do you trust? Like, do you have a news source that you go to?
I have a few. The Times.
Times is the gold standard.
In my news feed,
right?
I've got the New York Times. I got the LA Times. I read some of the BBC. I like the BBC because looking at the United States from the outside looking in is kind of a different point of view. What other feeds do I get? Daily Beast is I like them. Once in a while, I get Huffington Post articles popping up, and I read some opinion pieces. Again, there are some. I read this thing recently, and it was really good. It was about the world being disappointed and sad by the United States' lack of leadership through this. And the article talked about, like, this is the first time in the past 100 years where something happened to the world and the United States didn't take the lead. And it went back to talking about how we defeated fascism, and then democracy grew, and the Cold War, and and it said that, and these were scientists from France, the UK, Germany.
Where was this article?
It was in the Times. It was in the New York Times. And they talked, like, one of the scientists was a climatologist from Germany that studied at Columbia. And they said, some of the best and brightest minds in the world are in the United States, but no one's listening to them. And they talked about how the United States, again, took the lead. Whenever something would happen to the world, the United States would take the lead and say, hey, we got this. This is what we're going to do.
What do you think they could have done different?
And it talked about it in the article. First thing was take it seriously and listen to the scientists. That was the first thing that the government could have done. When a scientist spoke up and said, hey, this is real. This is not some Chinese thing or what. This is real. You listen to them. And the second thing is give people real information. Say, hey, like, you don't come out and say this is a hoax and then say it's not a hoax. They came out like because they were talking about Germany, which I didn't notice that Merkel is a physicist, the chancellor of Germany. So she right away went to science because she's a scientist, which I never knew.
Interesting.
But they told the German people, like, okay, this is real. There's a threat. This is, we don't know what to do, but we're going to do something. And I think had we done that, had the United States done that in January or in the latest February, said, this is a real threat. We have to take action, and we're studying it. Basically, you want to hear the government say, we're on it. That I think would have been a big difference, because then it was like 9/11, right? When 9/11 happened, the entire country came together. We dropped our differences and said, yo, they attacked the United States of America, right? And now the actions afterwards, later, the war and all of that, you may or may not have agreed with. But if you remember that, for that first month, man, we were all Americans. You know what I mean? Like we were sitting around talking, and it was like, this is the United States. So
you remember the flags on the cars?
Yeah. I mean, we came together. And
Jay London used to sell them. He did.
I believe it. I love Jay.
I love
Jay. He's a character, but he's genuine and the biggest heart in the world.
The first TV show I ever did, I did with Jay London.
Yeah,
it was in like 1993 or some shit.
I'll tell you my favorite Jay London story from Last Comic in a minute, because we lived together in the house. We did the reality show. We were there for about 4 or 5 weeks.
Wow.
But had they come out and said, this is real, we don't know what it is, but scientists are working on it, and right now we need everybody to pause. That's what they need. Everybody needs to pause. And then the other thing I think they needed to do from the beginning, and this goes back to World War II, there's a name for it, whatever the Defense Act is, where you call, General Motors and Boeing and, 3M and whatever drug companies, and say, all right, drop what you're doing. We need you on this. Because the United States, like that was World War II, right? When they said, no, we're not making records, we're not making pantyhose, we're not making cars. Like, you're going to make tanks and you're going to make bullets. And I think
that's the act he's using right now to try to force the meat packing companies to stay open.
Yeah, but it's piecemeal and it's too late. Like if you do it, I think if it was done from the beginning, forget about you're a Democratic governor and you're a Republican governor and you're fuck all that. Like, this is America. Like, this is, in times like this, like you said, when adversity shows character, right? This is when the character of the nation, and this is what this article was talking about, where the United States didn't do that, where you had the federal government fighting against governors and they're arguing over who has constitutional power and stuff like this.
Don't you think that there was an adjusting period of people didn't think it was serious and then thought it was serious? Like, how did you? Yeah, didn't you personally go through a period where you weren't worried about it and then you became more worried about it as time went on?
Right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But that's because of information, because we weren't given.
But do you remember information. What the information we were getting in January? It wasn't that bad. The World Health Organization tweeted. World Health Organization tweeted that there's, according to China, there's no worry of it being carried from person to person. Mm-hmm. That was in January. So it all happened in a weird way where there was conflicting information.
Right, and people didn't. But once people knew, that's why I said maybe by February.
Right.
Because in February people knew. Doctors knew.
Yeah, once February came around, there was enough warnings that. But try convincing everybody else. There's so many naysayers out there, right?
But again, this is where. But if you have a unified voice, if you have one voice coming out saying, "Hey, this is what the scientists are saying," because and I tweeted this a long time ago. Look, I'm going to get my information from scientists, not from politicians. This is where the politicians need to step to the side on the podium. Like what do they always do in the movie when the mayor stands up here and now I'm going to give it to the chief of police who's going to tell you, you needed, a president who's going to say, okay, this is the situation now. Here's the head of the, infectious disease bureau or whatever it is.
Well, there was supposedly, did we figure out what fucking happened with that pandemic branch? Like, remember they said that he closed down, that Trump closed down some.
a lot of the people that have been taken off the team have been spread around different jobs. They do respond to pandemic type things, but
there's not one specific
Right,
pandemic
they disbanded there was, and that was
Whoops.
when they showed the Obama speech, because that's what came after the Ebola thing, was when he said, yeah, we need, he said, this is like, what did he say? He said it's an investment. He said it's not an expense, it's an investment or insurance or something like that. But we need a department ready to deal with this because this is a real threat.
Well, now that they know, now that there's, I mean, in our lifetime, this has never happened.
No.
Now that it has worldwide, where the whole world is locked down, everybody's got to step up in a big way with this.
Right.
I mean, this has to be as much of a priority as national defense or immigration or healthcare or anything. Because this can put all of them to end if there's a real, like, really deadly disease.
Right.
This disease is obviously not good. It's terrible.
But this is a warning.
This is a shot over the bow in comparison to a lot of diseases.
And I think the other thing is, and again, this is where, you know, when people talk about, I don't know, government power and government this and that, like this is when the government is supposed to operate. This is when the government's supposed to tell the medical world, like, all right, this is what you do. Yeah, we'll pay. Don't worry, we're going to fucking pay you. But right now, if someone walks in sick, you lock them down and you don't send them away because they don't have insurance and stuff. Because, I mean, we have, you know.
Well, that spreads more.
So much of that, right? Our whole medical system based on what, like, it's always been frustrating to me when you go to a doctor, their first question is, where's your insurance card? Not how are you feeling, not what's wrong. And it's the system. But this was a case where they needed to say, all right, put all that shit aside. You're going to take care of patients. We're going to isolate. Because with the Ebola thing, remember, that son of a bitch came, like that one guy came from Africa or something, and they like locked that son of a bitch up. They were like, no, man, you ain't going near anybody. You're going to be in a ward, sealed off. Nobody's coming near you who's not wearing full protection. And they stopped. They I don't know if stopped is the right word.
It's not as nearly as contagious. Yeah, they caught it.
No, it's not as contagious,
Yeah.
but
there was a real
they
worry.
took it seriously.
Yeah.
And the medical community has to, like, we need them now. You know what I mean? And we need them beyond. The government is the one who has to say, this is what you'll do. We'll pay you for it. You know, and we'll pay later. And listen, that's what we do. And people talk about, you know, how much is it going to cost and all. Well, right now that we got to deal with this. You know, nobody worried about the cost of winning World War II. They were like, fuck, let's win the war and then we'll figure it out. And then we turned out to make even more money afterwards, right? And yeah, there's a military industrial complex that makes money and blah, blah. Yeah, you can always find all of this negative shit. There's going to be people who rip off contracts and stuff. Yeah. But that's bad and it exists. But the government needed to step up. Our government didn't step up on this. They didn't give people real information. And like you said, we got different information from different people. You didn't know if it was a real or a hoax. You didn't know what to do.
Yeah. Well, there's a bunch of things going on here, but one thing, it shows the need for something like what a lot of people like Bernie Sanders are calling for, was have health care for everybody.
Yes, yeah.
We need to have health care should be a basic right, just like a fire department is. Just and in a lot of ways, I compare it to fires because, like, if your house catches on fire, no one does shit about it, then it burns the house next door.
Yeah.
And that's the same with pandemics. If someone gets sick and we don't have a way to get them healthy quick and have a way to make sure that they have health care, like they don't have to worry. Like you could just go somewhere and you're not going to be spreading this. Just go somewhere and they'll treat you, and then you won't have it,
right.
And your mom won't have it. No one will have it. Like,
yeah, and you won't go bankrupt.
They're not there yet.
You won't go bankrupt.
I hope this wakes people up. All these fucking guys who just want small government. Sometimes you need a lot of government.
You
for
need
shit
a big,
like this.
Yeah, this is when you need a big government with power.
Yeah,
and
this is
what the
perfect
government does.
Example.
Because unless you are in that category that you could afford a bunker in New Zealand.
Those dudes,
they're okay.
How many of those? Like, there was a story about a Silicon Valley guy who had a bunker in New Zealand, and he had to call the manufacturer because he forgot his combination.
Right, he forgot his code.
So he's got a combo.
If you got bunker in New Zealand money, you're okay. If you've got David Geffen's $200 million yacht that's sailing, you're probably all right. But most
then
of
you
us,
got to worry about pirates and all kinds of other crazy shit. If they know that you're locked in the ground in New Zealand, they just wait outside the bunker hole.
Although New Zealand's kind of got this wrapped up.
They do. They have no deaths now. There's like no new deaths.
But you're like 1,000 miles from Australia. Like New Zealand is definitely like, yeah, you ain't getting in.
Yeah, they're not letting anybody in. New Zealand's amazing. I've never been, but from what I've learned from people that go there all the time and my friends that actually live there, it's fucking beautiful.
That's what I hear. I have a friend who runs motorcycle tours in New Zealand, and I keep saying, like, yeah, 1 year I'm going to go. That's another thing that's going to happen. All the stuff I'm going to do one day.
You're going to start
when
doing it now.
when the world opens up, we're going to start doing that.
Yeah.
I think we're all going to start doing that. Oh, I was going to do this one day. We're going to start doing more of that. I
hope so. I hope a lot of people get out of dead-end jobs. Look, when your job dissolves and you're forced to do something else, there's a lot of people that got stuck in a situation in life and they were on momentum. And now that momentum is completely stopped. You get all that time to yourself, all that time to reassess, all that time
Well, I had that thought, like, what would I do if there's no more stand-up? I don't know.
It's a bummer. It's a bummer of a thought.
But
does that mean because it's got to mean there's no more restaurants too?
Yeah, I don't think it'll go away because I've had those interviews. Like, what if and comics tell the truth? Like, we're the truth tellers. We always have. We can
still do that in a podcast.
So we'll still be around. I say we're going to survive. Stand-up's going to survive. Going to take a while.
How long?
It's going to be different. I have no idea.
If you had to guess, if you had to bet, if we bet $100,
man,
when does the Comedy Store open up again?
Summer.
Ooh.
Yeah.
At like half capacity, you think?
Yeah.
People wear masks?
Yeah, I don't know if they wear masks or we just have to sit a certain distance from each other. But I think they're experimenting now. I think these opening up, places in Georgia.
What do you think is going to happen with that, if you had to guess?
I think it's too soon.
Do you?
Think it's too soon. Yeah, especially the other thing was, because I was reading about New Zealand, and it's almost like they're doing the exact opposite. Like they said the places with personal contact, the hair, nails, massage, whatever, are going to be the last places to open. And I think that's what it should be. I mean, that's very close contact when someone's doing your hair or your nails.
Someone sent me some shit from Germany where they have a line on the floor, like a caution line.
Yeah.
And these ladies are behind the line with like long sticks. And at the end of the sticks, there's a comb. At the end of the stick, there's a hairdryer. Like, I'm not bullshitting.
Probably. And maybe that'll work. But, like in Georgia, like they're opening the tattoo parlors. Like, I don't think that's an essential service you need right now.
Well, I think they don't want the tattoo artists to go out of business. The question is, like, when do they...
Well, yeah, that is true. I get that from the small business standpoint.
When do they open it, and who gets to decide?
I think you do it... Well, again, they're experimenting, but I think you do it in stages, right? So before you open the tattoo parlors, maybe we go to restaurants and sit at every other table. And see
I think that's
how
a good
that
idea,
works.
but I don't think it's a bad idea for the tattoo artist either, because you can decide to let someone in the business, right, and make them wear a mask and keep them away from you. I mean, if you can get people tested, if you can go to a tattoo artist and say, hey, here's my test, I got it yesterday, here's the results, why is that so hard? Like, we need to have, like, some sort of a document that you can carry. Where are your papers, Alonzo?
No, you're right. And
Let me see the papers.
This was another one of that, best and brightest and come together, right? The companies, the science companies, like, the government should be like, all right, drop whatever you're doing. Like, we don't need more Viagra. We need a test for COVID. You know what I mean? Like, develop something so we can, because testing is a thing. You got to test people.
People are locked up in their houses. They're not going to stop making Viagra. People are fucking like wild animals right now. 9 months from now, there's going to be an overpopulation bump like the world's never seen before. Like, we're going to go from like 7
replace
billion
everyone
to
who
8
died.
billion in a week. Like, what the fuck happened? That's going to be the big pandemic. The big pandemic is we're running out of delivery room doctors. There's not enough. There's not enough doctors to deal with all these people shitting out kids.
Oh man, good. That would be a positive.
That's a
thing.
positive. Maybe.
But yeah, and what you said is true. Listen, I'm not anti-tattoo artist by any means. I got them. I get it. But I was just using that as an example.
It shouldn't be the most important thing to be open. Food stores obviously stayed open during this entire time. They're the most important thing. Gas stations, that's important. But at a certain point in time, we have to figure out like what is the threshold? Should we quarantine old people and sick people from here out? And should we let regular people go free? And should we make testing more readily available? Those are the things, like make testing way more available and leave it up to people to make their own decisions at a certain point in time. You can't just keep people locked up.
No, you can't keep them locked up because we're getting fever here in LA, right? We were fine being locked up for those couple of weeks when it was 60 and raining.
Yeah.
But when it hit 85 and the sun is out, and we don't have to go to work,
and you can't even go to the beach anymore.
Yeah, it's like now is when you can't keep people locked up, and it's a late spring in a lot of the country. But as the weather gets warmer and people getting on each other's nerves in the house, like that's when you gotta let So testing is the big thing, and just what you said. If there's somehow you get tested, and then you have proof, like I've been tested, I'm okay. Then you're like, okay, now you can function. You can like if you're running a business, if you're running the nail salon or the tattoo place or whatever, like George Wallace tweeted this thing about bowling. He's like, don't everybody share shoes at the bowling alley? So if you want
bowling alleys are essential
in Georgia. Bowling alleys are on the list. So you got to, before you get your bowling shoes, you got to show them your test card. That's going to be it, and it is also a function of where you are, right? Obviously, New York, where the population density is just unbelievable, it spread more, and you got to be more careful. Here
Plus
in LA,
pollution, air pollution, people who smoke. There's a lot of factors. Obesity, a lot of factors.
We're in our cars in LA so much that we don't interact as much as New York, and then if you're in Iowa or Oklahoma, one of those someplace where the population is more spread out, then it is going to be easier because you're just naturally you don't encounter people as much.
Yeah, like if you have a small town, like there's this case going on with a small town in Northern California where they don't have any cases and they just want to open up. And like, can't we just keep going to the town? Can't we have restaurants if no one's sick? Like as long as new people don't come into this town's clean.
Yeah, but then how do you stop that?
How do you stop
if you have restaurants, how do you stop the people from San Francisco,
dirty outsiders,
from driving up to your restaurant?
Dirty outsiders.
There you go.
Yeah, you can't. Because as soon as people find out that that county's opened up and they've got restaurants back there.
Well, like the beaches, right? The L.A. beaches are closed, but Orange County and Ventura beaches are open.
No, the governor's closed the whole state down because of that.
When they were open, L.A. people just went to those.
I was so torn on that. On one thing, like, what if those people do get people sick? But the other part is, man, if you're stuck in a fucking apartment, like the only happiness that you've gotten out of all this is when you got to go to the beach.
Yeah.
Now that's gone?
Right. It's a tough line. You got to let people out. And when people go out, they got to behave.
Right. So when? What's the number? President Alonzo, what should we do?
We keep the lockdown until May 15th.
And then what?
May 15th, we
open up the Comedy Store. It's an essential business.
May 15th, we reassess. We assess where are we at? Are there still an increased number of people getting infected? Has it stabilized?
Right. And what does it look like in Georgia? And what does it look like in Texas?
Right. Long as we got them.
What does Florida look like?
Let's see what they do. You can't count Florida.
You can't.
You can't count Florida. I got friends. I love people in Florida, but sorry, Florida. We're just going to have to. We can't count you guys.
You're a different thing. You guys are different. That's not America.
That's Florida.
That's a weird third world country. It's just it's an alternate reality. That's what it's like.
It's an alternate reality.
Yeah, Florida's an alternate reality.
Even when you're in Florida, there's two Floridas, right? Because there's coastal Florida. There's the Florida they tell us about, which is Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, Tampa. Then there's that
Pensacola.
Then there's that middle of Florida that they don't talk about.
Swampland, where they made that Leonard Skinner music. What, Jamie?
That order from the governor, I saw it going around last night. It was an order that was sent it was going around as a memo that was sent to sheriff's office. As I'm reading right now, it's not an official order.
So why did all these God damn,
So
these
it's a
fake
recommendation.
news sites.
Yeah.
These sites were saying the governor said he's closing down all the beaches. So what is it? Pull the story up so I can see it.
Previous reports say there were conversations that they were having.
Maybe he panicked. I want to get rehired. Previous reports before Newsom's orders indicated he planned to close all the state's beaches, which drew widespread criticism from some state officials. When asked what changed his mind on closing state beaches, Newsom said that they never did, and this is exactly the conversations we were having.
So they never did close all the beaches.
When is this?
This is from 5 hours ago.
Okay. Officials in other parts of California spoken out against a blanket beach ban in California. Sheriff William Hansel, who oversees Humboldt County, holla, in the northern part of the state where they get high as fuck, said he strongly opposes the order and indicated in a tweet that he would not enforce it. If an order is issued, I believe violates our constitutional rights, I will not enforce it. Good for you, Sheriff.
Yeah, only
don't go there if you don't want to get sick.
I wish he hadn't said it that way.
He's right, though.
He's right.
It does violate your constitutional rights.
But then the problem with that is that brings out the crazies, right? The angry.
All right, but he's
people.
Responded. Look, Newsom's actually reacting to this. Said his office received letters regarding the beach closures, but said that his decision is guided on what local health officials think is appropriate and what's not. When you pull back too quickly, you literally put people's lives at risk. People are literally dying because I don't like when a governor uses literally twice like that. I'm a stickler for some sort of grammar. Because the decisions that were done without a real frame of focus on public health first, Newsom said, that's what ultimately guide our decisions. That's good. But you got to also give people freedom. And you got to give them the opportunity. If they don't want to go to the beach, like there should be a way you can avoid going. If everybody else is still locked down, how much does it really spread if people go to the beach and then come home?
Well, this is the thing, and this is where common sense, like I get the constitutionality of it, but when you say that angers people. Right. That word angers people. So you use common sense. And I get what the sheriff's saying. Like if you're in Humboldt County at a small beach, that's not the same as opening Santa Monica.
Right.
So you look at individually, where are you at? What's the population? Who's going to the beach? And that's why, you leave it up more. It's more of a local decision because California, the coastline is so big and so long. There are some places where it's going to be packed and other places where it's not. And the places where it's not going to be so packed, let them open.
Those places are weird. Those places where you go to like Redwood Country, you eat at a bed and breakfast, and the people who run the place are odd.
But let them open, but you can't open, Venice.
Yes.
Because that's just going to be too dangerous. And that's where, and that's why when I say the constitutional word, because once you say constitutional, then you bring out these people that want to make it a protest and want to make it a thing. And these are people who don't even care about going to the beach. They just want to make it a thing. It's like, don't fuel that fire.
Right.
Don't throw logs on that fire.
Those are the dudes who want to ranch on public land for free, and they pull out guns and try to keep the feds away from their cows.
Like the guns, like that was the thing, right? When they first said guns are not essential, right? Then they pulled back on that. And they said,
it was essential, and then they decided to stop it from being essential because there's giant lines outside of gun stores, and people were kind of tweaking, and then people complained about that, and then they stepped in and said it's not, and everybody said, fuck you, and then they go, okay, we're kidding, you can have your guns.
So let me tell you, because I directly experienced this last week. I bought a gun. I bought a gun last week.
This is the first time you've ever owned a gun?
No, I owned a gun back in the 80s. I used to target shoot with some guys I worked with up in Oakland. But I bought a gun, right, because all of this went down, and people are like, why'd you buy a gun? I said, because The Purge went from a movie to a documentary. I was like, I don't want to be the only one, But the way I had to do it was you go online, and you make an appointment with the gun store, and then you show up and you wait outside. Like they come.
What'd you buy?
I bought a Glock, 45.
Stepping up.
Yeah. So I checked with the gangbangers. They were like, yeah, this is the one you hold sideways. But anyway, you had to wait outside, 6 feet apart or whatever, and they brought you in one at a time. And then I was able to do it. I did the background check. By the way, the people who fight against the test and the background check, like how, like, do you understand how, have you done it? Do you know how easy these questions are?
They're very easy.
There's questions on there like, are you a felon?
Yes.
Are you, is there currently a restraining order out against you? Like, well, who would check yes on that box?
Well, you have to, because if they find out that you're lying, you'll never get a gun.
Right. Well, I'm pretty confident that I'll pass and I'll get it. And the guy was cool. This was one of my concerns was because I don't know what gun store to go to, right? So I said, man, don't let me walk into some place where there's a big Confederate flag on the wall.
In L.A.? In L.A.?
In L.A. County, yeah, you can find. Yeah, well, listen, Joe, trust me on this. Trust me on this. They're out there. But anyway, no, the guy was
if
really
you're in farm
cool.
country off the 5.
Yeah,
maybe.
and the funny thing was, one of the big things was the size of my hands, right? So I have big hands, so he's kind of like, yeah, man, you got to literally try it on and see how it fits. And the Glock fit my hand really well. And then I was asking about shotguns, and he was like, telling me, because I've fired shotguns, I've done that skeet shoot and stuff, and he was talking to me about tactical shotguns. And so he said, yeah, he said, you probably want one of these because you don't really have to aim too well when you got one of these. You just blast in the direction. I was like, all right, that sounds good. So I'm probably going to get one of those too. But yeah, but it was cool. And I get it. Like it's funny because people have accused me of being anti-gun. And I'm like, no, I'm not anti-gun. I'm pro-common sense. But,
well, what were your thoughts on gun laws before this? Did you think that people don't need to have guns?
No, I never thought people don't need to have guns.
So why did they think you did?
Because I've talked about, like, we don't need 50-round clips. I had a joke. I said, listen, I got a 50-round clip for self-defense. I'm like, if 50 people want to kill you at the same time, maybe it's you. Perhaps there's some part of your personality you need to look at. I'll tell you one thing I've always got about guns. I'm a motorcycle guy. I'm a car guy. And I know some gun people, and from the mechanical, artistic point, like this is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get that. Like,
yeah.
There are guns that are beautiful, just from a mechanical standpoint. Like, you look like this is a beautiful thing. And if you want to shoot it and shoot targets and this and that, great. If you want to hunt like you hunt, I called you. You remember, I texted you a while. I said, Joe, if this shit goes down, I'm coming to your bunker because I know you know how to kill animals. Like, I got a friend who knows how to kill animals. I'm going to go hang out with him.
It would be way more difficult than that. I had this conversation earlier today. Someone was asking me, would you be okay? And I'm like, you probably would not be okay with no civilization because you'd break an ankle and you die. You get an infection and you die. And good luck finding animals all the time. And what if you run out of arrows? Or what if you run out of bullets? You can't make your own bullets? Like, well, it could get real weird real quick.
But all of that aside, but those are the people who I'm like, those are the ones we need to watch. The ones who like, I got to have this whole bunker full of ammo and this and that.
I have 150,000 guns.
The government's coming to get me and all that. Like, those are the ones. Yeah. So when I talk about gun laws and that's why I say common sense. There's a common sense level to it, that I'm okay with. But no, I'm not anti-gun.
But you can't. The thing about people is they think it's a slippery slope. So if you say, I am for the Second Amendment, but I don't think you should have 50-round clips, or I don't think you should have that, and they're like, well, who gets to decide? Who gets to decide?
Common sense. You know who should decide should be the majority. Mm-hmm. It should be people. But again, this is where we're all one side or the other, and common sense is in the middle. If we had a government, a Congress, whatever, that could debate and talk about and have input and say, hey, the hunters say that we need this, and now it all makes sense, then you come up with a reasonable gun thing. Like, for instance, I think that cars are a good example. Like, we regulated guns the way we regulate cars, in a sense you have to have a license, and when you sell it, even privately, if I sell my car to you, I notify the government, like, hey, I just sold my car to Joe, VIN number, blah, blah, blah. He's now responsible for it,
Hold right there for a second, because I need to find out if this is true. Someone just told me that in Georgia, they're going to let kids have driver's license now. That's 100% true? That you don't have to go through a driver's test now?
Not like the last step of the, like, going to the DMV.
Can we pull out an article on that so I could read what the parameters are?
Yeah.
That is terrible.
Yeah. Well,
Do you remember how bad you were a driver when you first started?
you know what? Again, Joe, when they do this, I'm like, yeah, why the hell not? Why the hell not? Let's give.
We're going to
let's
see
give the
6-year-olds with
kids,
no experience.
just
Georgia
go ahead.
waives road test requirement for driver's license during coronavirus. Wow.
Right, because why would you need a road test to drive a car?
Look at this. The state government will rely on the honor system, with parents giving young drivers the okay to obtain a license in fucking Georgia. Jesus Christ.
Joe, once again, common sense. See, now that you saw that, and your common sense meter went, oh, hell.
Georgia's reckless. They're letting people go to barbershops. They're letting people get a license with no test.
You know Georgia's right next to Florida.
Oh,
I'm just saying.
Real close. But I would think of, no offense, Florida, but I would think of Georgia above Florida. I think Atlanta above any city that is in Florida. No offense, Florida. But I mean, to be honest, Miami's a party city. All the rest of them, there's not a city that has the kind of sophistication that Atlanta has.
Right, but Atlanta is an island within Georgia.
Yes, that's
you know what I mean?
problem.
Like Atlanta's like an island.
I know. So we look at Georgia, we think, oh yeah, Atlanta. I've watched that Real Housewives show.
Right.
The rest of Georgia, there's a lot of wild places.
It's like California, right? Everyone thinks of L.A. and San Francisco, but there's a lot of California in between L.A. and San Francisco.
Yes,
that is different.
Like Humboldt, like the guy that's thinks they're violating the constitutional rights and he's not going to enforce it. Yeah, it's California on the way up to San Francisco. When you take that 5, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah,
that's farm country with anti-abortion billboards.
That's right,
yeah.
and the whole water thing. They're fighting against the cities for the water.
Exactly,
and,
water rights.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. So yeah, I think that again, if it worked, if the system worked, we'd have a system of common sense. Unfortunately, we just have one extreme or the other. The thing about no guns, it's like, what are you going to, there's already millions of guns out there. So that's impossible. Like, that's an unreasonable
It is,
thing
but
to say.
It's one of those
because-
conversations that doesn't have an answer. There's not a clean answer. So
No.
when people bring that up, they go, well, Australia did it. I'm like, okay, first of all, there's only 20 million people in the whole
Right.
fucking continent, and it's the size of the contiguous United States. So there's more people in California than there is in Australia.
Right.
So shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
We're not-
and they also did it over a period of time,
They did it pretty quickly.
and they did it they did it in a moment of outrage.
Exactly.
They
Yeah.
did it in a moment of outrage, and unfortunately used us as an example.
Yeah. But you can still get guns over there for hunting, though. People
Yeah.
hunt with guns over there. It's
Well,
just
Canada,
not as easy.
people hunt in Canada, and Canada had a mass shooting
Recently.
not too long ago.
Yeah.
But so like you said, it's one of those without an answer.
That's the problem.
But we
Like if
could-
if you definitively think that this is the way, and you don't see the other side of it, then you're gonna always have this polarized argument.
Right.
Pro-gun,
and if people
anti-gun.
would lose that, if they lose the I have to win,
Right.
and just like
they're
let's
all-
come up with a compromise that works.
But the gun people, like particularly like NRA people, they don't think you should give up any ground, because if you give up any ground from where we are right now, it's just a slippery slope, and
Yeah.
they're going to keep taking. And they do have a point with some people. Now, a lot
Yeah.
of those people that used to think like that now are buying guns, which is hilarious. A buddy of mine's wife was, you're never having a gun, you're never having a gun. This shit went down, you need to get a gun.
Yeah.
Like he said, it was a 180 switch, and it
Right.
happened immediately when everything was shutting down.
Yeah.
You start thinking of people in their worst case possibility rather than, we live in a nice area,
Right.
we're fine.
Yeah, and again, you're right. Either extreme is impossible. Neither one wants to give up an inch.
Yeah.
And you both have to give up an inch. Neither one wants to give an inch, but you both have to give an inch. And and again, this is what we were talking about earlier, where the federal government does need to be involved in a sense where you have like Chicago that has a huge gun problem, partly because you can just drive over to Indiana and buy anything you want and bring it to Chicago.
Is that what the problem is?
Yeah,
How
yeah.
close is Indiana to Chicago?
Gary, Indiana to Chicago, I think is like 2-3 hour drive.
Oh,
And that's where guns come from. When I grew up in New York City, right? New York City has some of, if not the strictest gun laws in the country. I knew guys, you go down south, you go to Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, buy any gun you want, drive up and sell them in New York. Because remember, our borders are, there's no border between states.
Right.
You drive.
I hope that stays the way it is. I know that's a terrible thing that people are bringing guns from Virginia, but I hope the border thing stays the same. If you want to drive across the country, you can just go.
Yeah, I think the border should stay the same, but I think there has to be some sort of federal oversight to this. So
what?
There, again, what you can buy, what's required to buy it, what's required. If you had to provide ID to show who you are and where you live. So now if you're
To buy a gun, you mean?
Yeah.
You should have more than that. You should definitely do that too, though.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So now if you're in one of the more lax states like Virginia, and I'm just using these examples, I don't know specific laws, but a Virginia or Arizona or something like that, you can't just go there, live in California, live in New York, and go there and buy one. Like you got to prove, I live in Arizona. So I can buy so I'm subject to Arizona's laws.
Yeah, how does that work? If you're a citizen of the United States and you drive to Arizona, can you just buy a gun like you live in Arizona?
From what I understand, and listen, I'm far from an expert, and I know there's experts listening.
We should probably Google this.
But the gun shows, I think that's where they said you have a lot of
fuckery in the gun shows.
Yeah, because the gun shows is just one guy, one person selling to another, and that's where it gets really vague.
Yeah, that's the
as
loophole.
to what the rules are.
People buy all kinds of illegal shit.
Right. So I think I think in a gun store you need to provide ID and stuff like that. But the gun shows, it gets really kind of a gray area.
Didn't Bruno didn't Sacha Baron Cohen, this Bruno character, go to a gun show?
Yeah,
I think super gay character. Yeah, guns are fun. The problem is people are morons. The problem is not that guns aren't fun. I like guns. I have friends who are really gun nuts. I have friends that have so many guns they don't know how many guns they have. They love guns and they love them for the mechanical thing. It's their hobby. Like some people are really into muscle cars, some people into motorcycles.
I'm absolutely cool with that because most of the people, I knew one guy who he was one like I'd be worried about. He was one like, this guy's waiting for a reason.
I have a friend who's a gun nut. He got carjacked and he shot a guy and killed him.
But most of the gun guys I knew, they collected them, like you said. It was like muscle cars or motorcycles or whatever. It was just their thing. Yeah. And they were good with it. And the other thing is the gun safety. These idiots, there's so many stories like, the gun was in the back seat and the kid shot the other kid. And it's like, come on. There has to be some kind of safety and liability issue.
What's morons?
Just
that's what it is. It's not you. You would never do that. I would never do that.
Right.
It's the problem is you taking something with godlike powers and you give it to morons.
And there has to be that. You have to somehow.
You're too dumb for a gun,
regulate the moron. Yeah.
Give them a simple test.
Man, we've talked to a few people, and no.
It shouldn't be just are you a felon. It should be like a competency test.
Right.
You need a competency test to drive a car because a car could be deadly.
Well, no, you don't. You don't. You just need to go to Georgia.
Just need to move there. During the corona, they're probably taking so much heat for that right now. People are probably freaking out. But then again, maybe not because it's Georgia.
Yeah. And again, where are you? So if you're way out on a farm in Georgia and you want to drive the pickup truck, then that's probably okay.
Yeah,
but
right, exactly.
But if you're in downtown Atlanta,
right,
at 16 and your parents are like, you can have a license. What the hell?
Oh, my God. People are just cutting people off and hitting blinkers, and you're going to be in a panic. That's hilarious.
Man,
that's so true. But it's such a poorly fucking thought out idea.
Yeah. Who decided that? Who decided that, screw the road test.
What was it? It was the governor of Alabama that didn't want to shut down. She goes, "We're not California."
Yeah.
Was that what it was?
Yeah. It's like, no, you're not.
We're not California.
Craziest place in Alabama. Have you been to Huntsville, Alabama?
I've been to Dothan. Dothan, Alabama. I did a UFC there in 1997. First UFC I ever did.
Oh, okay.
I've been to a couple different places in Alabama.
Well, here's the thing. Huntsville, Alabama, rocket scientists. It's where NASA is. When I drove in, there's a Saturn V rocket.
Holy shit.
And it's the last thing. You're like, this is Alabama. Literally, they are rocket scientists.
They must be
some of the smartest people. Yeah.
Imagine the rocket scientists and the locals.
And that's exactly it. It's the last thing you would expect. It blew my mind.
Look at that.
Yeah.
U.S. Army.
These are literally some of the smartest people in the country.
In the world.
Yeah. And there they are in Huntsville, Alabama.
I bet they have good food there, though.
Yeah, they had all kind of good food. But
the Southern people know how to eat.
It was one of those things that you're like, man, this is insane. It's just weird. Like I didn't expect it there.
Isn't that funny when you think about that? That people have been cooking over fire forever, but Southern people were like, hold on, slow it down a little. Let's slow it down a little.
You know
Let's
why?
slow cook that motherfucker with smoke.
Because they're not worried about it being healthy.
That too.
There's
sauces and.
Hey,
but
Joe,
like they figured out smokers.
I want some fried chicken with a cream sauce. You know what I mean? And
Dude,
they don't give a
fried
shit.
steak. Chicken fried steak is fucking delicious.
When it's done right, man. You know, but then they take it too far. Right now we're deep frying Twinkies. You're like, okay, stop. So your heart just stops.
Yeah. But chicken fried steak, when done right with that gravy and some mashed potatoes, like I remember one time we did a show in Georgia at the club. What was the club there? Was it the Funny Bone?
The Punchline.
Punchline Atlanta. We did that club, and then afterwards we went to this local diner that had chicken fried steak, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It was so fucking good, man.
They know how to make food.
Oh.
You know,
it was insane.
You get some sweet potatoes and this or that, and then, some cobbler for dessert. And but nobody's counting calories.
Nobody's counting calories.
You
got to think, the people that probably earned the right to make that food back in the day were probably working some crazy hours on some farm.
Do physical labor all day.
Like, who the fuck invented all those foods? Like, who was the first guy to look at a barrel and look at another barrel, like, I need a barrel where I cook on, and then I have another one next to it, so the smoke's coming in on the side, and slowly cook this fucker.
Somebody did it by accident, and then they were like, maybe. Man, that was good.
Or maybe they just, like cook something, like, they go, oh, I need to cook this, like, I don't want to cook it right now, I'm going to, like, just kind of put a little bit of, maybe if I put a little bit of a fire and just let it sit for a while, I don't have the time to pay attention to it. I'll come back to it in an hour.
Let it cook all day.
Yeah.
Or they tasted the smoke in something and they're like, man, that's good. How do we just get that flavor? I don't know, but thank God for them.
Thank God for them.
Because they do know how.
Is that an American idea? No. Tory Kiln Smokehouse, the first smoking device in smoking history. And what did they cook there? Was that salmon? People love smoked salmon.
Just as meat.
Just meat.
Scotland.
Oh yeah, because in Montreal, smoked meat is like that's what they call like deli meats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's something like pastrami.
Yeah.
It's something like pastrami, but it melts in your mouth.
Oh, it's so good. Montreal?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so good.
The place where you line up outside.
Yeah. What is that place called?
I don't know how I'm forgetting the name because I've been, but now here's a place. You talk about social distancing. There is you just had to sit at the bench next to whoever and eat your smoked meat. And then as soon as you finished, they were like, all right, get out. Because someone's waiting for your seat. Yeah,
those aren't the names of the places. I feel like it was like a guy's name.
Yeah,
it was like a dude's name.
It's like Frank's or something like that.
Yeah, someone's
but it's not
smoked
Frank,
meat.
But it's a smoked meat. It's the most.
Don't look up smokehouse. Look up smoked meat. Yeah, there you go. See, there it is. Smoked meat. See if there's a restaurant shows.
As much as we've done the festival.
I don't think it's Augie's.
No, it's not.
Schwartz's. That's
Schwartz's
Deli.
Deli.
That's it.
Schwartz's,
That's it. Yeah. Look at that. 12,000 reviews, all 5 stars.
Yep.
That's fucking good.
You wait in line.
Yeah.
You get your smoked meat. You sit down next to whoever. You eat it, and you get the hell out.
Oh, shit. They're open. I guess they're probably doing to-go in Montreal.
Yeah.
Most likely.
It's so cold up there, that virus doesn't have a chance. The virus probably dies as soon as it comes out of your mouth.
Virus in Winnipeg.
I remember the first time I was in Montreal in
They're wishing for
December.
a virus in Winnipeg.
I know,
they're like,
right?
man, could you...
That's what it looks like, too. God damn, that looks good.
Yeah.
Oh, there's something like... The Jews know how to make those goddamn meat sandwiches.
Yeah.
Pastrami Reuben from Cantor's.
Yes.
Oh. Oh, so good. I wonder if they're open. Are Cantor's open? Is Cantor's open right now?
Open.
I hope we don't lose too many restaurants, man. I'm real scared of that.
We're going to lose a lot of the private, the ones that aren't
Small
part of
places.
a chain or whatever.
Yeah, we got to support them.
Yeah, that whole thing was crazy where, like, Ruth's Chris gets $20 million and, all of that.
Well, I guess they think of it from an economic perspective. Ruth's Chris employs, 50,000 people or whatever it is in all their different locations.
You know what it was? It was that they went by individual restaurants. So, like, if you had over 6,000 employees or something, you were considered a big business. But each restaurant only has, 40, 50 people. So that's how they got the money.
What? So they got a small business?
Right. They got small
Franchises
business.
were included in it.
Right.
What?
Yeah,
because
franchise had stores under less than 50 or
right.
500,
They count
something like
each
that.
one. They don't count the whole nationwide corporation. They count each one, and that's why they got the money.
So individual Ruth Chris has
theory-
got the money, and so you could own Alonzo Bodden's Ruth Chris. You could have your own Ruth Chris.
Right. Well, the theory was that this money would be divided amongst all of the restaurants, but of course, it wasn't going to happen. The money was just going to go to corporate, and then they got shamed out of they were shamed, and
So they gave it back?
I don't know if did Bruce Chris? Yeah,
Really?
because like Steak Shack and the other places, they were like, no, we're not going to take the money.
Okay, good. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse returns a $20 million federal loan in response to public demand. I remember Ruth's Chris back when people thought butter was bad for you. They were putting butter on steaks.
Yeah.
That's back when they're like, who gives a fuck about your health?
Right.
Like butter on the steak.
Yeah.
And then when they realized that butter is actually good for you, like Ruth Chris is ahead of the game. They were the head of the game. They were way ahead.
Did you ever hear the story of how they got that name?
Yeah, I forgot it though.
It was Chris's Steakhouse, and this woman bought it, and in the contract they had to keep it Chris Steakhouse, so that's why it's Ruth's Chris Steakhouse.
Ah, good for her.
Yeah.
She's like, fuck you.
And then her brilliant idea, and it was a great idea, she said that, I think it was originally like in Louisiana and Texas, and she said, these businessmen travel, and everywhere they go, they're going to want to eat steak. So she started opening up where these guys went in business so that they would recognize the restaurant. She's a very smart woman, very smart woman.
That's
and
very
that's how
smart
she
move.
built
And
the
accurate.
franchise.
That's very accurate.
That's how she built the franchise.
If I'm with my friends, we're going to go eat somewhere, we look for a steakhouse.
Right. And if you
Always.
recognize one and you know it's good,
Yeah.
then that's where you go.
Yeah.
So
Good move. That's a good move. Yeah, the whole steakhouse thing. It's like that's a very uniquely, at least we look at it that way, a very uniquely American thing. I know they have steakhouses other places, but the sheer numbers of steakhouses we have over here.
I think we have the number, but those Brazilian
Oh,
steakhouses
churrascarias.
where they just walk around with the meat and now that's a male thing, right? You don't just you take a woman to a restaurant like, look, they've got unlimited meat. Like,
You can eat meat.
Yeah, that's men just like, just bring me more. Just
Dude,
keep bringing me meat.
Fogo de
keep bringing
Chao
me meat.
in
Yeah,
Beverly Hills.
absolutely.
That place will wreck you.
Yeah,
They
you
will
put the
wreck
green,
you.
put the
Yeah.
green square up.
You will
just keep
flip
it
that
coming.
bitch over the red. You will give up. You will give up. Sometimes they just keep coming one after another. Chicken leg, filet mignon with bacon.
Yeah,
Oh,
and they
Jesus
just carve
Christ.
it off for you right there. But it's like that is such a that's like I'm just gonna sit here and I'm gonna eat meat. I'm not gonna eat again for 3 days. But and don't go there not hungry. Don't you know what I mean?
Yes.
This is not a place to go worrying about what you're gonna eat. Like they
Yeah.
have that little salad bar over there, and like whatever. Just keep bringing me different meat. The green is up.
Yeah, that salad bar is bullshit. You don't even want to fuck with that.
No, you don't wanna-
Unless you want to lube up the shoot. That's what you do. Get some fiber in there. It's just so it kind of pushes the chute open a little bit, gets everything ready for the barrage of carnage.
And I think this is that time where for me, it's like I told you, like you're doing great, you're staying in shape and working out. I'm trying to keep moving. I'm riding a bicycle here and there. I tell you, starting to learn to jump the rope. But I will eat something. Like my justification is like, well, listen, it's a deadly virus. I don't want to die and not have had pizza. And I know it's bullshit, but it's what I can tell myself
That's some single
that's
shit.
All it is. That's just what I tell myself to justify eating this shit at this time. It's like, well, listen.
You live by yourself, though.
Yeah. If we're all going to go.
We have meals because I'm eating at home with the kids and the wife. So we every meal is like has to be healthy.
Yeah.
'Cause when you have kids, you can't feed kids bullshit.
Right.
Like you have to have some healthy choices. You're teaching them to eat healthy.
Well, no, that's great. You know.
You're not doing any working out at all?
No, I do some. The bicycle is actually
A bicycle, or you go outside or inside bike?
Yeah, outside. Inside bike, treadmill, just so boring. I get the discipline of it, but it's boring. But no, I'll get on my bike.
But you know what's great? If you have a treadmill or an inside bike, is movies.
Yeah.
Watch a fucking movie. You don't even know you're doing it, and you're an hour and a half in, and it's over.
There's an idea.
That's the move.
No, a guy he was telling me, he said, get this Nordic track. I guess it's like the Peloton and,
Oh, that's like
computerized and all. No,
Nordic track is skiing.
That was the old Nordic track, but they make a bicycle now that's like a Peloton.
Okay.
And he was telling me, and I said, man, it's a lot of money to spend for something to hang my pants on.
Do you remember when people had those bullshit ski machines in their house and pretend you're skiing?
Yeah.
Nobody used those.
No, you used it 3 times. It had the cables.
The
so
worst.
the cables, you move back and forth, and your feet slid back and forth.
So you could tell if you went over someone's house and they didn't have their shit together, they either had one of those or they had a Bowflex.
Yeah.
They had like one of, or what was the one? Was the one where it was just rubber plates and you would pull them apart. You remember? It wasn't a Bowflex. It was like that though. It was like that.
I don't remember. I do remember the Bowflex, and now they have a new Bowflex that's actually like a bow.
Yeah. It's like, I forget what it's called, but there's a bunch of bow exercises you do with it. Nobody's using that.
No.
If you use it, those are for people that don't have their shit together. You look at that and you go, oh, maybe I'll use it. Okay, I'll get it.
But you know why? Because the commercial, they get somebody who goes to the gym, who works out regularly to do the commercial and say, 20 minutes a day with this, and I have this body. And you're like, no, you don't. Because I know people with that body, and their discipline is beyond belief. You know what I mean? Like I used to work with this trainer at Gold's, and she was like amazing shape. She had been a bodybuilder, and then she shifted over to fitness, and she just cut up and beautiful and this and that. And I used to tell her, I was like, you understand, if you lived in like Oklahoma or Iowa, like women would kill you. Like they just wouldn't allow you to exist because you have this perfect body, because when they had that whole thing about women's bodies and the false, the false image of women's bodies. The problem with that is when you're in LA, that's not really false because those women, the models who do those pictures are here.
Yeah.
They're you go to the
unrealistic
gym.
body expectations.
Right.
Yeah, they're not unrealistic for guys though.
Yeah.
If you see, nobody ever says that about bodybuilders are bullshit because they're fat guys need love too. Like,
right.
You're giving us unrealistic body expectations. Nobody says anything about that.
No, but it's also because
we don't feel bad about men that look like shit.
Right. Women walking around, like a guy who looks like shit has a shot. You know what I mean? Like women aren't as particular.
We don't care about that guy.
Women aren't as picky about it as men are in our minds. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's also that men control the advertising and men objectify women in these ads. But when men objectify men in the ads for women, no one cares.
Well, you know why? Because if the guy's too pretty, he's gay.
We could say that. But what if the guy's not? What if he's beautiful?
Well, he's not.
And he's rugged looking.
Yeah, he's not. But I mean, that's the dismissal. Like, in other words, when women look at that woman and they sell that image.
They never say she's gay.
She's trying to achieve that image, right? But when they show men that guy, men are just like, yeah, but he's gay.
Right,
so
but
then
it doesn't work the other way.
Then they don't have to try to compete with him.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, man. I was hanging out with Tyson Beckford. You know what Tyson is?
A little bit too handsome.
It was comical. It was literally, I laughed, like the way women would react when they saw him, and the fact that you don't even exist in the world. But it's not even trying to compete. It's like, I'm going to play a pickup game with LeBron James. You know what I mean? It was like, no, there's no
Well, he's got two things going on.
You just look, it was just fun to watch.
But he's also got two things going on. He's famous too.
Yeah.
So he's famous as fuck and he's beautiful.
Yeah.
and he's tall and handsome. He's got everything.
Yeah,
So you're like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, it was just that kind of thing. So, the unrealistic expectation, my unrealistic expectation went right out the window. It was like, yeah, well, I ain't competing with that.
Well, girls do get mad, though. But I think some guys would get mad, too.
Yeah, some do.
Bitch dudes. But girls will get really angry if they see, like, some bitch that just showed up at the gym. She's got a perfect body.
Right.
And then you're on your treadmill looking down at yourself going, fuck.
Yeah. And then if they do the whole sexy workout outfit and the whole thing,
That could be a real problem.
Yeah.
They get mad at their husbands, too. What the fuck are you looking at?
Oh, yeah.
That's a problem.
But, it's... But again, here in L.A. or like Miami...
Oh, yeah. That's not unrealistic.
Miami should be rated R. First of all, like when you get off the plane, they're like, listen, you're too young to be here. You're gonna have to go up to Fort Lauderdale.
If you're not 17, it's NC-17. It's not even rated R, because rated R you can go with your parents. If your parents are assholes and you're 14, like, yeah, my kid needs to see the slasher movie. But NC-17, like, you can't take that kid in here.
The women walking around Miami, it's so sexy. It's just comical. This is the other thing that, like getting older, like being my age, I'm in my 50s, where I'm not chasing them anymore, so it's just fun to watch.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's like
you're watching nature documentaries.
Yeah, it's like look at this. This is amazing. Like this. Do you see this woman?
Like an exotic bird.
And you're just like, she walks around like that every day, all the time. She just looks like that. It's incredible.
Well, it's also such a superficial culture too. There's people over there that are really rich. There's a lot of flossing. There's a lot of wearing the latest shit and driving the fastest.
The whole thing. The
biggest diamonds on your watch, and yeah.
It's just fun to watch.
So it's a
but
very
if you get caught
place.
up in it, if you get caught up in trying to be that, then you got problems. But as long as you remember it's entertainment, because that's what it is.
Well, it's a city that was sort of built on cocaine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Which and that's why it's funny now with marijuana, right? With weed, they're like, we don't know what to do with the weed money and this and that. It's like, well, talk to the people who did Miami in the 80s, because they managed to turn all that cocaine money into a city. Like they managed to.
Well, that's already been going on with weed in places where it's illegal. Like in Vancouver for the longest time. There was a documentary that I was in way back in the day called The Union. Mm-hmm. And it was all about how even though marijuana is illegal in Vancouver, the city literally depends on it. The industry is built on it. There's so much money in marijuana in Vancouver. I mean, people kind of forgot about it because California has it legal now, and Oregon and Washington State has it legal now.
Right.
But for the longest time, we got a lot of our weed from Vancouver, a lot of British Columbia weed. And so this documentary was essentially showing how it's completely interconnected with the economy up there. It's enormous. And if they pulled out, somehow or another, if marijuana and all the marijuana money just went away and it didn't exist anymore, the economy would probably fall apart or need a huge readjustment.
And that's the way Miami was.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Miami was like, man.
All the banks.
Yeah,
they were laundering money down there. There were so many banks.
Real estate, like that was building office buildings and condos and all of that
on the
stuff
water.
was, it was, but what a city.
It's beautiful.
What a city.
It's a wild place. It's also on like a very porous stone, which will absolutely go underwater soon.
Well, listen. And again, I have Florida friends. I love them. God is continually trying to destroy Florida.
It's sending a message.
Just throwing things, just hurricanes and
every
tornadoes and just keep throwing.
Oh, and if you're not, how about alligators too? You got fucking alligators everywhere.
Dinosaurs. Alligators are dinosaurs.
This is how goofy California is. California banned pythons and alligators, the two things they're trying to kill all day long in Florida. So you can't even buy python skin things. I mean, literally, there's like a market for. They're invasive. It's a fucking giant snake that comes from another part of the world that shouldn't even be here.
Right, nothing can kill it because it
so
shouldn't be here.
many of them in Florida. They're paying people to kill them.
Right.
But you can't even sell the skins in California.
And
we're so goofy.
But the thing with alligators, it's like, why would you go near any water in Florida? You know what I mean? Like if there's a puddle, like stay away. There's probably an alligator. I remember I played golf in Florida, and they were like, when you hit your ball in the water. Like you don't, like it's gone.
There was a huge one that just caused a traffic jam. So see if you can find that. It was out today in the news. There was a huge alligator in Florida that was causing a traffic jam because it was walking across the road, and people were like, "What the fuck?" Like 16-foot long.
Well, now
goddamn dinosaur.
animals, like since humans are locked away, animals are coming out.
Yeah.
You know, they're coming down into town looking for food.
I had a bobcat in my
and
backyard.
stuff like that. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear them.
Big fucker.
I hear coyotes and owls.
Oh yeah.
And stuff. You know, at night, like, yeah, they're close.
They're moving in. It's as soon as we're gone, if we got wiped out, this place would be overrun with animals in weeks.
Yeah, nature would come back
real quick.
Nature would come back really quick.
Did you find it?
It's 2 years old.
Maybe. Let me text it to you.
Yeah,
I'll find
traffic
it.
jam in Florida.
Is it 2 years old?
Yeah, it says April 2018.
There's no one that's new?
Nope.
There's not one that's new?
That's what it looks like.
Okay.
Man, look at that thing.
Maybe. I think it's another one.
And that's in Jacksonville.
I think
Jacksonville is the town that there's a lot of crazy in Jacksonville. Are you?
That's where the UFC is going to be.
Yeah. There's a lot of. That's where the beach thing was going. That where the spring break beaches were going. And all right.
Nothing newer. All right. Maybe it's an old one someone sent me.
Yeah.
Man found eaten by alligator actually died of meth overdose.
I thought the alligator died of overdose for a second.
That's hilarious.
I was doing
Imagine
a podcast.
You die of a meth overdose and an alligator comes along and eats you. Oh my God.
Doing a podcast called Fear Not with a guy named Barry Glassner who wrote a book called The Culture of Fear, and it's about, what we fear in society. And we had a segment to the podcast that was just called Fear Florida, because every week something would happen in Florida. Like Florida is just
Like that.
yeah.
The city of Lakeland closes portion of park because of snake orgy.
Of course. Of course. And look at the date. Look at the date. Valentine's Day. It's on Valentine's Day,
hilarious.
February 14th.
It's hilarious. Oh my God. And an 11-foot alligator was found inside a Clearwater home last week.
Of course. You could do this with no end. Florida
It's an endless
Florida could
source.
go. It's just an amazing, and again, some good people. Tampa. I love the city of Tampa.
Yeah.
I have great shows there. I
love West Palm.
Tampa. Yeah, but man,
I've had great times in West Palm with that the improv down there.
yeah. But some of the stories you hear and some of the things that happen, you're just like, Florida, you guys. Like
wild.
Florida passed Mississippi a long time ago. It used to be Mississippi. Even California. We used to be the crazy state.
Yeah.
California was used to, now we can't compete.
Florida used to be like old Jewish people would
Yeah.
go there. And Miami
They
was
used to call it God's waiting room.
Yes, that's right. The New York people that didn't want to deal with the winter anymore.
Yep.
Yeah, now it's just chaos.
Now
It's just pills and fucking madness and alligators. There's so many alligators there. You ever watch Swamp People? You ever see that show?
Oh man,
that one of the guys
How could
that's
you
a
not
commercial.
watch it? That's one of those shows that when you see it, you're like, I have to watch this.
One of the guys that's a commercial killer of alligators. He got a tag for 500 alligators. You could kill 5. That's how many they have. 500 alligators. That's how. There's not a shortage of these fucking things.
My favorite thing about Swamp People is they're speaking English and they still have subtitles.
That's so true. That's so
They're
true.
speaking English, but they have subtitles
You barely
to help
understand
us.
them. Well, there's that sort of Cajun sort of way of talking, which is real interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because that's a really unique subset of the
Man,
Southern accent.
That is the hillbilly hand fishing.
Yes.
Did you see that one?
Oh, I've seen that where they noodle.
Yeah.
They catch the catfish by letting it clamp down their
Right.
farm.
Right.
What in the fuck?
Yeah.
But I guess if you get one of those fuckers, that's like 100 pounds.
Yeah.
That's a lot of meat,
It's
man.
a lot of meat.
So
but-
I guess they grab the gills.
Mm-hmm.
They let this thing bite their arm. They put their hand in its mouth. They let it bite their arm, and then they grab the gills and pull this fucker out.
Remember we were talking about the guy who ate this slug?
Yeah.
You know that was the first hillbilly hand fishing guy was like, hey, watch this. And he stuck his hand inside of a catfish and pulled it out. And they were like, I'll be damned. We got a way to do it. Yeah.
How many guys lost their hands to snapping turtles doing that?
Yeah, they're not going to They never give you the bad side.
Snapping turtles scare the fuck out of me. When I lived in Florida for a bit, and when I was 11 years old, I lived there till I was 13, and we used to find these fucking turtles. I guess they're tortoises, right? Because they're on dry land. They would be huge.
And they can bite through bone, right? They can
through
bite
your
right
dick.
through bone, yeah.
They bite your crotch. Like if you're an 11-year-old kid and one decides to bite your dick, that's it. It's over. They catch a finger, they'll slice your finger right off, clean off. We would put sticks near them and they would bite the sticks.
Yeah.
We're so stupid.
Well,
Amazing.
you were 11.
I was also around alligators all the time. When I was 11, we used to go and throw marshmallows into the water, and there was signs telling you to stop feeding the alligators marshmallows after a while. But the alligators back then were endangered. So
Yeah, there was a period,
protected.
and they were protected, but then the population grew
Skyrocketed.
so much.
It went from them being protected to them giving someone 500 tags to kill them in
know
my
in-
lifetime.
In Orlando, there was one of those alligator farms. Like you go, and I said, that's for like when Dad gets tired after his third day at Disney World. When he's tired of the kids, he's like, "All right, let's go see some alligators."
Let's go
and
see
if
some
there's an
crazy
accident,
shit.
I don't give a shit. I'm tired. Of you.
Well, there's something about alligators that we want to see always because they're so primal. It's such a dinosaur.
Yeah, they're
Throw a chicken
literally.
at it.
Yeah, they're dinosaurs, right? They've been around forever, right?
Have you
I
ever
think.
seen that video where the lady's throwing chickens off the balcony of these crocodiles, and they're grabbing the meat and eating it, and one of them reaches and doesn't get the meat, and he just grabs his buddy's leg and spins and rips it off and swallows it, and his buddy doesn't even budge. It doesn't even budge. This other alligator just ate his foot, and he literally just looks around or other crocodile rather, just ate his foot. He doesn't even react. Doesn't
Well, that
move.
was like the one where, what is it, a deer or something's at the riverbank? And the crocodile jumps out of the river and bites the whole thing and pulls it in.
Watch this. So she throws this meat, right? They all stumble for it. And this one grabs a hold of that one's foot and just watch. Does the death roll, pops off the leg, and then just swallows it. Whoop, thanks. And look at the one, he just ate his fucking arm. He doesn't even
He's
react.
looking at him like, did you just eat my
Bitch,
foot?
Did you just eat my fucking hand? He doesn't even seem mad. How have we let this thing survive? They're so gross. They have moss growing all over their back. What a creepy ass fucking monster.
I was Googling just an alligator snapping turtle, which is the cross of both things you were just talking about.
An
Which,
alligator snapping turtle.
yeah, right.
Oh, jeez. Oh, I've seen those. Those are fucking enormous.
Yeah, they're nasty looking.
Where do those live?
And like this
at
video
that
shows
thing.
a map of it. I think.
Look at the
Jesus,
difference.
look at that thing.
Area there.
Mexico and Central America. What the
Gnarly.
fuck, man?
And you know what I like? That guy in the hat, that's how that guy always looks, right?
guy on the right?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
guy on the right. Like
He's
he's
just
always
hoping.
that guy.
He's hoping to be the next Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah,
He's
look
like,
at him.
He gets bitten by him and shit.
No.
Yeah, he's the guy that does all the gets stung by stuff. and
What is his name again?
Coyote Peterson.
Oh, yeah. He's a silly man.
But that's the alligator one on the left and the regular one on the right.
He's the
like-
guy who lets those bugs bite him and shit that have
There's a new show Shab was talking about. I watched a little bit of it on the History Channel with these two guys. One's an Australian dude, one's an American, and they go and they let themselves feel the pain and then explain it in an gnarlier way than he does almost.
Dude,
even,
hold
which is
up. While
crazy.
we're doing this, back that up a little bit. While we were just talking, look at the fucking right there. Leave it right there. Watch his fucking claws.
Oh, yeah.
So they go over his body here, and you can see the plates underneath him, and then they show his claws. Look at that. It's like a grizzly bear.
Yeah.
And then they close in on his face.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the yap on that thing. That might as well be in the Lord of the Rings. It might as well be an orc. You know? Like, look at that. They might as well be riding a horse, swinging a fucking axe. What a monster.
You thought the honey badger didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
The alligator turtle, what threat does he have? Is there anything that
Probably
is a
alligators.
threat to him?
I saw a video of a sea turtle that had a whole bite taken out of it like a cookie from a shark.
Yeah.
So a bull shark
Makes
bit
sense.
through a fucking sea turtle,
Yeah.
cut through his shell, cut half the body out, and it was swimming away with 3 legs, and the entrails were hanging out. I was like, wow.
Well, that's the other thing that's been here since the beginning, right? Sharks.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that bite mark.
Nature's metal.
Yeah.
Nature's Metal's a great Instagram page, rather.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one in the middle up left, it looks like something took a bite out of it and it lived. Look at that. It healed up.
Damn.
Wow. Jesus Christ. It's hard out there for a pimp.
Yeah. Yeah.
The ocean's the cruelest bitch.
Yeah, because there's shit down there that.
Everything's eating somebody.
Right.
Imagine if that was the outside world. Like everywhere you look is a fish trying to eat a fish.
There's something trying
like,
to kill you all the time.
All the time. It's like Africa, like the Serengeti squared.
Yeah.
You know?
There's always something. And we have no natural defenses.
Yeah.
We got nothing.
We can't even move in there.
We got no fur. We got no claws.
Oh,
we got
so
no scales.
soft.
We're delicious. You know what I mean? Like if you're a predator, just an unarmed human being is so easy.
So easy. And the fact that we're so stupid, at least on the ground, you feel like you might be able to like grab a rock and throw it at it or stab it with a knife. Yeah. But when you're in the ocean, you can't do
nothing.
A fucking
You can't breathe.
thing.
You can't even
breathe.
You can't.
Barely can move.
You're moving. You're the slowest thing. You're thrashing around.
Think about how fast a shark moves and how fucking slow you are.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I'm curious. I just want to go swim around.
The shark's like, oh, here they come again, the buffet.
What would it take to get you to start hunting?
I don't know that I have the patience for it. I'm not, you know.
What if you were starving?
Well, yeah, obviously then. But I think hunting, there's a patience to it. It's one of those things where you wait a long time for that moment of action.
So,
right?
it depends on what kind of hunting you do. I see what you're saying with some hunting, like tree stand hunting. You have to have an incredible amount of patience. You just sit in a tree and you stay still and you stay up there a long time. But spot and stalk hunting, it's not as much patience. Spot and stalk, what you're doing is you're moving along slowly, and then you pull out your binoculars, you glass the area. Sometimes you sit down, you glass the area, and then you find the animal, and you slowly move towards them, and you try to play the wind, so the wind is blowing at you, so the animal's not getting your scent.
Smell you.
Yeah, so that kind of hunting is actually very, very exciting, but it's also very rigorous exercise. Like you're going up and down mountains. It's like you have to be in really good shape to be like if you're going to hunt elk or mountain goats or some shit like that. Like you got to be in a really good shape.
Yeah, I don't know that'd be my thing.
But what if there's a food shortage?
If there's a food shortage, I'm a big guy. There's going to be a smaller guy who has food. I bought a Glock.
What would it take to get you to move out of L.A.?
Man, I don't know. I mean, in some kind of disaster situation you're talking about,
like earthquake type deal.
Yeah, then I would go. But otherwise, I've thought about leaving here. You know, I've got friends who've left because of the cost of living, and they're living much higher standard living in other places. But I love L.A. At the end of the day, I love this part of, the weather, the roads. I get to play with the motorcycles, this and that. So this is so my lifestyle. I mean, I'm mainly a road guy. I could live anywhere and still do 90% of the work I do. But I love living in L.A. So if I were somehow priced out of it, that would be the only way left. I mean, obviously, yeah, if there's an earthquake or a disaster or something, then I'll head to.
I love living in L.A. the way L.A. was.
Okay. Yeah, I get that.
I don't know if that's going to be the case anymore. So I'm like one of those guys, like if you're playing musical chairs, I'm like, this fucking music could shut off any second now.
Yeah. Now, your kids have always lived here,
yes,
right? They grew up here. So what do you think their thought would be to go somewhere else?
Kids are adaptable, man. They adapt really quickly. It's interesting because that's one of the things that I've noticed about them doing their schoolwork online. They do their schoolwork on computers. They're adapting. They're dealing with it. They have FaceTime with their friends,
Yeah.
It's interesting. And I'm really proud of them for their ability to adapt and not freak out about it and just accept, And we're spending a lot of time together. We do a lot of movie nights. I watch every fucking Adam Sandler movie that ever existed, basically except Little Nicky. I haven't seen that one.
Yeah.
But I think as long as the family's there and there's other kids to be friends with, kids can do all right.
Right, they'll adjust. Yeah. That's partly that. I mean, not even partly. A big part of that is testament to you and your wife as parents to have kids who are like that. Versus some kind of spoiled LA kid who couldn't have,
Well, sometimes moving's good too, man.
Yeah, no, listen, if I had to, I was just talking with a friend. This summer is 40 years for me in LA. I moved here in 1980.
Damn.
Yeah, so this summer is 40 years because his 40 year was this month. And we were talking about it like when we first came here. We were kids, 18, 19, right out of high school, moved from New York to LA and just mind blown. And I've been here long enough to see it. That's why I said when you talk about LA, how it used to be, I can think of a few versions of the LA I've lived in. Listen, I got a buddy. We talk about it. We could have bought parking lots in downtown LA for $25,000. You know what I mean? Downtown LA used to be like what you see as Skid Row used to be. The whole downtown was like nobody went downtown.
Isn't that crazy?
You went downtown. The bankers and insurance people were there during the day. And then at 5 o'clock, it would just close.
But how'd that happen?
And because there was nothing there, there was no reason to live there.
But why did they build those buildings down there?
Because it was business, and office buildings, I guess, felt they needed to be downtown.
But isn't that weird that they would just have this one spot where there's all these tall buildings, the only part in all of LA, and no one wanted to live there?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the way it was.
So the opposite of other cities.
Right.
Like if you go to downtown Minneapolis, there's all these big buildings and a bunch of apartments, and people live down there, and it's totally normal.
They tried to develop, I remember in the 80s, they tried to develop downtown, and nobody would move down there. In the 90s, they tried to develop downtown, and people just wouldn't move there. And then they finally, when they got Staples Center, and then they said the big difference was grocery stores. They said when they opened grocery stores, because before, if you lived downtown, you had to go to like
Brentwood or some shit.
Eagle Rock or Pasadena. Like you had to get on the freeway to go buy food. So once they developed the grocery stores, then people start, and it was also, I think it was also a matter of everywhere else got crowded and expensive. So initially downtown was cheap, and then it became the cool spot to be.
But it's so bum infested.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
so crazy how many homeless people are shit on the streets out there.
But again, like if it's one of those, if I knew then what I know now, you know what I mean? Like in the 80s, man, I could have just bought just a parking lot downtown.
Well, maybe there's a spot right now.
There is,
but
right we don't know where it is. Inglewood 5 years ago, because now Inglewood's getting a new football stadium, the new basketball arena. They're developing it all, but now it's too late, right? So who knows what that next area?
What do they call that? Gentrification?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I wonder, because I wonder how much of an effect this is going to. First of all, I've talked to my friends in New York City, and they said that a lot of the real estate people are preparing for a mass exodus. They're saying, first of all, if New York City can't be New York City anymore, like it can't be everybody's just coming there from everywhere else and filling the streets and super crowded. If that can't be the case, then what is it? And if it really is a place where the virus might kick back in again and have a second wave, people are not going to want to buy there.
Well, just look at the past, right? Because if you look at New York in the 60s and 70s, people didn't want to live in the city. They lived in the suburbs.
Right.
And then the gentrification was all the people of the suburbs, their kids wanted to live in the city.
Huh.
So it would be another movement out of the city to the suburbs, and the cities would, I don't know if fall is the right word, but the cities would know, you know what I mean? Because commerce-wise, it's always going to be in the city because business is done there.
But that's the other thing.
But that's changing now.
The thing with virtual shit.
With virtual stuff. But there's especially New York. New York's going to be a city because New York is a gateway into the United States, and New York is banking, Wall Street and all of that. So to an extent, New York's going to be New York. But as far as people living there, yeah, a lot of people, they may go to their homes in the Hamptons or in whatever and say, you know what? I don't need to go to the city
anymore.
What
about all those restaurants that have been there forever, like Keen's Steakhouse?
Yeah.
Places that have been there since.
Some of those they're already saying some of those won't be back.
Fuck.
They're already saying some of those places won't be back.
Like New York had so many restaurants.
New York has so many things, but we don't. Who knows, right? Who knows?
Who knows what's going to make it?
Like fashion, right? Who knows? Is fashion going to be a thing, or are we all going to just wear sweatpants now?
Well, if you have to stay at home, have you seen so many people that have been doing these things where they're wearing suit and tie?
Yeah,
but they're wearing shorts, and they get busted.
Yeah, shorts and no
Dudes
pants.
wearing underwear.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's the new normal going to be? In so many levels, cars, right? People now, they're buying cars online. So is it going to go back to going down to the car dealership and arguing with this guy and all of that bullshit? Or is it just going to be like, hey, man, I'm going online. This is what I'm paying. And then I'm going to go down there and pick up my car. I don't know.
Well, a lot of people are still going to want to kick the tires, drive it a little bit, see what it is. You don't know. There's so many cars that drive so differently. You don't know what to expect unless there's a place where you could test drive a car. You're going to be more reluctant to make that decision.
Well, you can still test drive, but the negotiation and the bullshit part, are people still going to want to do that?
They're going to want to, because there's going to be a limited number of cars, especially the cars that get overpriced, like a new Corvette. Like they sell them way above sticker,
right?
Because there's not that many of them. Those kind of cars, you're still going to be able to make money. Yeah.
But the cars the most cars that sell the transportation cars, the Camrys, the Accords, and stuff like that, the people really, they're like, I don't need to test drive it. I know what it is.
Well, the real problem is it's a supply and demand thing, right? Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is, like, do we need to keep making cars? Like, how many of these cars that we still have could we fix up?
Right.
And get on the road again? And at what point in time do we stop every year flooding the market with 1 million new cars or whatever the number is?
Yeah. But it's part of our economy.
It is.
And it's a tradition. And you got all these people in Georgia now who are going to be driving.
But you know what else is a part of our economy? Fixing cars.
Yeah.
You know, and there's something to be said for that.
More of that is going away.
Yeah.
Because cars are so efficient and digital now. You know, that mechanic that you used to go to down the street, like, he doesn't exist anymore because he's got to have all this equipment to plug the car in.
Yeah.
And find out, I mean, I drive a BMW, and I say, like, when you lift the hood of my car, it should just say none of your business. There's nothing under here for you to touch. You don't know how, you know what I mean? Like,
you don't know what you're looking at.
You have to take this to the dealer. And so many cars are like that now. Yeah, Tesla. The electric cars are all going to be like that. You're going to have to take it back.
It's going to be like an Apple
where
store.
You bought it.
Yeah, you're going to have to take it to electronics.
And if there's an accident, I don't even know, like, you can't take a Tesla to a body shop, right? You have to take it back to Tesla or what?
No,
I don't know.
You could bring it to a body shop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's different body shops that service Tesla only.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean, though. You got to have a guy who knows, because there's digital sensors, there's this or that, the other. It's not just putting a fender back on, because that fender has a camera in it and a sensor and a this and a that.
Right, depending upon what happened to it,
right.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's the future, too. The future is emissionless vehicles. So what we're accustomed to, what we're seeing here over the last month, where there's no fucking pollution in the sky, that's probably going to be the future.
And people also have to adapt. People, from a technological standpoint, in other words, like, if you've been fixing, well, I'll give you an example. If you used to fix carburetors, then you better learn to fix fuel injection, because all cars are fuel injected now. There's a few classic cars with carburetors, and there's a few guys that they need to fix them. But other than that, if you want to work, so if you're fixing cars, either you're gonna have to adapt to this digital car, or you're just going to go out of business, or you're
going to work on old cars.
Yeah,
there's always going to be
there's
those
not
guys.
going to be that many. You know what I mean?
wonder.
It becomes more of a specialty because there are fewer of them.
Yeah,
it's like 60s muscle cars, right? They're great, but there aren't enough to support all the mechanics that used to fix them.
That's true.
So you
got to adapt.
You got to adapt. You got to adapt. And there's always those people who say, these new ones ain't no. It's like, no, the new ones are good. It's different than what you're used to. Yeah, it's not my thing.
Fucking spaceship.
Yeah.
How's it not your thing? It's amazing.
This guy told me something, and when he told me it hit, he said, you know why you don't like Teslas? He said, because you like cars, and a Tesla's an appliance. And I was like, yeah, that's it. It's so, it doesn't make any noise. It works, but it doesn't have the visceral feel of you drive a 911, right?
Yeah, I have one of those. It's a different thing.
Does not have that visceral feel of driving.
No, but it's way better to drive.
Efficiently, yeah.
Not just efficiently, the way it moves.
I know.
It just goes around things so quickly. Like you accelerate.
It's the instant torque. It's the instant torque of electric motors. But I still, and maybe I'm that dinosaur or whatever. And I don't knock Teslas. Like if you want a Tesla, have a Tesla and have fun with it. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I just know it's not for me. Now I prefer engines.
I like engines too. I like shifting my own gears. I like manual transmissions, but I also like that Tesla. That thing is fun as fuck.
Again, I get it. And I also get the people who say, hey, if you're sitting in traffic on the 405 and the car can drive itself, let it do it.
Yeah. Oh, it's way less stressful.
I'm also out there on a motorcycle, man, and I'm scared of Tesla people.
That's a good point.
They trust the automatic driving so much they're not paying attention, right?
Yeah.
And I'm out there like I'm their target. I don't know that Tesla. I don't know that your car sees me on a bike.
That's a good point. My friend was saying that he answers his emails when he's driving. I'm like, oh my God, no, you don't.
Yeah, he does.
He goes, yeah, I do. He goes, I can answer my emails. I go, what? On the highway.
People do things behind the wheel that will scare the hell out of you. And like now,
that's so trusting.
The freeways are empty now. People are driving so fast. And it's people who don't know how to drive fast. I don't mind someone driving fast who knows how to drive fast, or they have a car
I mind it,
made to go fast.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
But you got, man, I'm doing 80 and getting just rocketing past me. Like, I know you're doing 100.
Yeah.
I know you're doing a buck.
There's a lot of idiots. Driver car going
I
180
miles
an hour on Michigan Highway during lockdown.
Yeah.
What was he driving?
2016
Hellcat.
Dodge. Yeah, something.
Say that again?
2016 Dodge, probably.
Yeah, the Hellcat.
Wow. 180.
Yeah.
Oh, they caught him.
Man.
How'd they catch him?
I don't know.
Helicopter.
Yeah, they saw him and then
Jesus.
one saw him and then they waited for him.
They set it up ahead.
Yeah.
It's actually a Challenger, but no big difference.
Hellcat Challenger. That's what it is.
Okay.
You don't know shit about
I
cars.
forgot.
Son of a
I've been in
bitch.
Yeah, but there are people, and there are a lot of cops out now. There's a lot of cops writing tickets.
Good.
You don't want a 100-mile-an-hour ticket.
How about 180?
What
do they do with you? They must just put you in jail.
I think 180. Here, I think in California, I think you go to jail at 100 or more.
Really?
They can. They don't necessarily do, but
180. There's a real good argument.
But 180.
You should be locked up.
He said, "My fault. I was speeding with another vehicle. Sorry," according to the officer.
My fault. Sorry. Well, sounds good.
Where's the other car?
At least you're polite.
That wasn't in Detroit.
No.
Right? In Detroit, my fault. Sorry, ain't gonna work. That had to be somewhere in outer Michigan somewhere. Sorry ain't getting you off the hook in Detroit.
Well, Michigan's a good example of how things can change, right? Because Detroit used to be the most profitable or the richest state, or the richest city, rather. Let me get this out right. Detroit used to be the richest city.
Yep.
It used to be a hugely rich city back when they were making cars there.
Yeah.
I mean, they still make some cars there, but back when it was the place.
Don't even get me started on the American car industry. Because
it's crazy.
You talk about a group that took it for granted and didn't adapt to the times.
Yeah.
And literally sat there and watched the Japanese take all of their business. They watched the Camry become a Chevy.
Yeah.
Right? Used to be just, what are you gonna buy? It used Chevy versus Ford, right? You remember your family. You had Chevy families and Ford families. It was but there was no talk of any, and they had that market, and they just sat back and built crappy cars.
Yeah.
And blah, 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 and let that whole thing go. It's ridiculous.
Well, things get weird when you ship stuff overseas, too, or ship jobs overseas. Things are cheaper to make in Mexico, or they're cheaper to make in China.
Yeah, that exists. But as far as the cars, American cars in the 70s and 80s were garbage.
Garbage.
They were, and that was a choice. The factory could have made better cars, and they just chose not to.
Do you think people are going to be more open to the idea of American-made businesses, supporting American-made businesses after you realize how difficult it is to get things from China during a pandemic, and how we're so reliant on China for medicine and for electronics and so many different things? One
would hope. I think there's two ways to do it. Either we do that, support American businesses, or, and this is a worldwide thing, open up to the idea of globalization. Where it's a global economy, not an individual nation economy,
Then who runs it? China?
No.
The fuck out of here. America!
No.
America!
Well, the same people who run it now, right? The bankers, right? I mean, they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about where the money comes from. They're running the money worldwide. They're in contact with each other. You know what I mean? And I'm not even talking from a conspiracy theory thing. Like, that's just how it works. Money flows throughout the world. And so if you're financing, I don't know, if you're financing Apple Computer and Apple Computer is building their computers in China, if you're the bank on Wall Street, you don't care. You care about Apple paying their stock dividends or paying their bills. You know what I mean? So so the bankers who run this, who are behind it, they don't give a shit. Right?
They just want to make sure it stays profitable.
Right.
They're not willing to sacrifice that for some ideal of it's good to buy American.
Right. Yeah. But if you can show a way to profitably make it American,
you'd have to get people from America to really find value in buying something that's America, because it would cost more. Like, how much would it cost to? We've done this before? How much would it cost to make an American phone? Everything made over here. Is that even possible?
I don't think so. Not anymore.
They have to develop. Yeah, I think it has to come down to those rare materials they're putting in.
Isn't that crazy when you think about how many people here have phones and how many people are addicted to phones? We can't even make our own.
But we gave that up.
But forever? Can't we adjust?
The only way to adjust is if other countries bring up their standard of living to ours and their income level to ours, then the price of labor becomes the same. Because that's the big variable. Right. That's the big difference.
Or you make so much value in things being American that you'll pay more for it the same way you pay more for labels, right? Like, you'll pay more for Nike than you do for some no-name sneaker.
But then you have to make it a better product.
Well, Nike's a really good product, but there's some sneakers that are not as well known that are also really good products, so they'll cost like half as much.
Yeah.
Because Nike has a lot of name brand value. I don't know why I'm using the word Nike, but it could be anything. You could have Adidas. There's a lot of things that people will buy and they'll pay more for because it's a brand.
Yeah, branding makes a difference, but
What about the brand of American made?
You again, make it better. This was a thing, right? When an American car automatically
but the brand
meant
is not
it was
necessarily better, right? There's a pride in owning Nike. You've owned something that's got a great label. What about a pride in owning something that's made in America?
But you also have faith in the label. In other words, when you buy a Nike shoe,
that's true.
You have faith that this is a good shoe.
It's a quality shoe.
Right?
Yeah.
So if there was a time when made in America meant it was better.
Right.
Like, cars are a perfect example. So you automatically bought it. So now you have to once again build that in. And it takes a long time. This is another thing about American economy versus world, right? American economy, they're based on the profits in the next quarter. Yeah. Whereas like Toyota was making plans in the 70s to run the world car market in the 90s. Like, they plan long term. You have to look at it like that.
Right.
That it's not just a matter of quarterly dividends. You have to look at what are we doing with this company.
And it has to constantly make more money. Every year it has to make more money than the last. That's how you know it's doing well.
Yeah.
And you have stockholders that you have to, you have to listen to them.
And you adapt and try to make a better product. I mean, you look at like Windows, right? Like, we're on Windows whatever. We're not still on Windows 1.
Yeah.
Because they were like, oh, this works better. Oh, this didn't work. We got to change that. Oh, this works better. And you keep adapting and changing the product, or the same thing. Now, sometimes, like with iPhones, it's like sometimes, look, that phone, you just change it for the sake of changing it. Like, there's a reason there was no iPhone 9, right? They were like, all right, we can't fool them anymore. We got to hold off.
No, they made it to iPhone 10 because it was the 10th year.
Is that
the 10-year anniversary of the iPhone? Yeah. 2017. It started out in 2007. So 2017 is the iPhone X to mark the 10-year anniversary. That's why there's no iPhone 9. But there is an iPhone 9 now. It's a SE.
SE, yeah. So you need to, I think you can do it, but you have to build a value into making it American. And part of that is marketing, right? Like the F-150, there's nothing more American than a Ford pickup truck, but it's made in Mexico.
Is it really?
Yeah, there's F-150 plants in Mexico. They're not all made here in the U.S., just like BMW's SUVs are made in South Carolina.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Hondas the NSX, made in Ohio.
Made in Ohio. So and this is what I'm talking about the global part. they figured out, well, it was cheaper to make because America buys the most SUVs. So BMW said, well, let's just make them there. Then we don't have to ship them across an ocean.
Right. Makes sense. And then the same thing probably with the NSX. They're like, listen, there's going to be a bunch of wacky Americans who buy this fucking ridiculous super horsepower 4-wheel drive Honda.
Right. So you make it there. Now, when you talk about that value, there are some things like Ferraris, like it's a Ferrari. So it has a value to it, and the fact that it's Italian adds to the value of it, right? Just when you talk about adding value, like something Italian, like we're just like, well, yeah, that's, even though a lot of times the quality was like, falling off or whatever, but it was just the fact that it's Italian. So yes, we could do that, but I don't know that anybody will.
Yeah, it was designed by artisans. That's the idea. I mean, if you go, a buddy of mine went to the Lamborghini factory. He said, first of all, he goes, they stop working for like 2 or 3 hours and they just eat pasta and take naps.
Yeah.
And he's like, it takes forever to make a car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But they do it all by hand.
Yeah.
And there really is an art to it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we don't make bad cars anymore. The cars we make now are getting a lot better than they used to be, like especially SUVs. Like the new Lincoln Navigator is amazing.
I love that.
And there's a new Escalade that they're going to release.
Right,
That looks
going to be amazing.
Fucking incredible.
Which they had to do because the new Navigator was so good.
And then they have the new mid-engine Corvette, which is a monster. I mean, that's
phenomenal
an
car.
Incredible platform that they're operating on. And people that drive it said it's like leaps and bounds better than any Corvette that's ever existed before. And then we have great Camaros. There's a lot of shit they make now that's good. The new Mustangs are amazing.
There are a lot of great American cars. The problem is they let their reputation slack so much
For so long.
that if you talk to a new car, like a first-time car buyer, and ask them what they want, they're not going to name an American car.
They want a Mercedes or a Porsche.
Right, or they want, a Toyota or a Honda or something like that.
Something super reliable.
People would ask me what to buy in cars, and I'd always tell them, get a Honda, because it's just going to run forever. It ain't going to break.
Toyota, same thing?
Toyota's the same, But, yeah, you get one of those. And I wish I could say get a Chevy. And I'm sure there is one, but I don't know what it is. I don't know what to...
Dude, I've owned 2 of those original NSXs. I had one, I got rid of it. I got a second one, I got rid of that. I never had a problem.
Never.
Not a single problem. And they're sports cars.
Yeah.
I mean, mid-engine sports car, like
That
a race
will
car, no problems.
last forever. Yeah. And they were all built like that. It's just a level of quality. But yeah, you're right. Listen, the Camaros, the Navigators, the Mustangs, there's so many cars like that are great American cars, but people, you hurt your reputation. You
so
built
long.
so many bad ones for so long that people are like, man, I had a 78 Corvette. It's the worst car I ever owned. It was, man, Joe, and when it would break, it wasn't mild. Like, it wasn't, no, it was like, oh, yeah, your intake manifold cracked. Like, intake manifold, like a major metal piece of the end. They're like, yeah, that just cracked. Yeah, your radiator, the bottom of it just rusted out to nothing. Just, like, it was, oh, man, that. And what ultimately killed the car was the wheel came loose. The wheel came off the car while I was driving it.
Did something break off of the suspension?
Yeah.
Oh,
the what is it? The
controller arms?
The control arm behind the brake. Yeah.
Oh, God.
It just, so it lost the wheel.
Yeah, they made some dog shit cars.
They were, because that was when they were trying to figure out emissions, and they were trying to figure out mileage. Yeah. And you had a small block V8 engine. I remember the car only made 180 horsepower. Like I have motorcycles that make that much horsepower. Now, this was a Corvette.
How slow was it?
Oh, Joe, it was a horrible thing. It was, jeez.
180 horsepower for a Corvette sounds so crazy. Because now the base model's like 460.
Yeah, but at that time, in 1978, that's when they had the Mustang II.
Oh. Oh, remember that? Oh, what a hunk of shit that was.
And the Camaro was a full-size Camaro that came with like a 6-cylinder engine that made like 98 horsepower.
And it was huge, like a Chevelle.
Yeah, exactly. It was this big steel car with a little, it was American cars where, I love my country. Those cars were garbage.
Look at that.
Oh, man.
Look at that.
That was a
thing.
Mustang. You
To
imagine?
imagine going from take that, get a good look at it, right? Get it. Now I want you to say 69 Mach 1. Now you Google a 69 Mach 1 Mustang, and then you realize how fucking far the mighty have fallen. One there, right there. Boom, son. I mean, what the fuck? How is that the same thing? That is a monstrous, beautiful, sexy, ferocious vehicle.
Because you took the company away from the engineers and you gave it to the bean counters and the board members who didn't want to drive. Like, you saw Ford versus Ferrari.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
I heard
you
it's
got to
awesome.
see it. It's a great movie. Great movie.
That movie looks like a Bad Company song,
It was.
right?
But
Or
there was.
that car rather.
There's a scene in the movie where the head, like the CEO or whatever of Ford, goes to see Carroll Shelby, and Carroll Shelby puts him in one of his cars and says, take him out, and they scare the shit out of him. Like, they show the car like it's so fast and powerful that the guy's like, build one. But these are people, like, this is what happens when you have a car company run by people who don't know shit about cars. You get a Mustang too.
God damn, that's
Or you get a 180 horsepower Corvette that wheels fall off.
Just
of.
imagine, though, going from that 69 Mach 1 to that Mustang 2 in just 10 years, right?
10 years, man.
That's crazy.
10
The people
years.
that were
And
there
then-
for the Mach 1 had to be like, what the fuck? Imagine if that happened to us from 2010 to 2020. You'd be like, what the fuck happened? 2010 was not that long ago.
Listen, go to the 80s when, remember they tried the front wheel drive cars, like the Chevy
Yes.
Citation and all
I
that.
had a front wheel drive car.
All of those cars, me and my brother laugh about those cars because they were such crap. The Citation had a vertical radio for some reason. And there was an Oldsmobile. Remember, I don't know if you remember this, the 468 engine that was an 8-cylinder engine that would cut off cylinders, like cut down to 6 cylinders.
Oh, when you're on the highway, when you're cruising, yes.
And
I do
of course,
remember that.
it didn't work. The theory was great that you're in V8 when you need it, and a 4-cylinder, but
Don't they still have that kind of setup on some Cadillacs?
yeah, but now they have computers and electronic
Right.
fuel controls that it actually works. Back then, it was like, no, this shit don't work.
Is there ever a business that's fallen so hard so fast as the United States automobile business from like the 60s to the 70s?
Steel,
Steel?
U.S. Steel, yeah.
Yeah.
They started, I think Japan took over steel.
Oh.
Because I knew people in Pittsburgh when Pittsburgh went almost bankrupt. Pittsburgh had the same fall as Detroit, but they bounced back.
Oh.
But yeah,
Man.
that whole thing, man. They used to build Camaros and Firebirds right here in Van Nuys.
Did they really?
Yeah, in the 80s when I moved here, the Camaro Firebird plant was in Van Nuys.
They built some dog shit cars.
Yeah.
Those 1980s Firebirds, what in the fuck are you
Thunder
making?
Chicken, man. You get that
Whoa.
big sticker on the, remember that?
Yeah, but there's some that they did good. That's one that you don't see enough resto mods done correctly.
Right.
Like, it feels like if someone took like a Burt Reynolds style Trans Am
Yeah.
and did it correctly and redid it, you just don't see much. Like, look at that.
Yeah.
If someone just did that right.
But those were the cars. They had a big engine
Yeah.
that made no power.
Nothing.
You know,
Terrible.
it was just a
Slow as fuck.
big engine that didn't make any power.
But God, it looked like it did.
Looked like a great car.
It looks like it should be fast as fuck.
Remember T-tops? Remember those?
Oh, I do remember those.
You had to take your T-tops off and
Put
put
it
them
in
in
the
the trunk.
It's funny, though, that was the only car that had a painting on every hood like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Trans Am was the one.
You had to get the Thunder Chicken.
Yeah. There's one in that show that I watch, Ozark.
Yeah.
Did you watch it, Jamie? That guy's got a pretty badass one. See if you can find that. See, Google Trans Am from Ozark.
Stumble across a spoiler, I bet.
Oh, you think so?
I don't know. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen
Yeah.
it yet.
You haven't seen the Trans Am yet? Just write Trans Am
And didn't-
from Ozark.
Wasn't
There we
Knight
go.
Rider, wasn't that a Trans Am or a Firebird? I think that was an
Yes,
80s.
It was one of them dog shit
That
ones.
was an 80s Firebird. Yeah.
No, that's not it. It's an older one.
Frank
Yeah.
Jr.'s car.
Exactly. Let me see what that looks like. Yeah. That's pretty fucking nice.
Yeah.
He's got a pretty fucking nice one. That's rare though that you see like a resto mod, like a really done up Trans Am. Yeah.
Yeah, the 80s Knight Rider was an 80s Trans Am.
Yeah, talk to him.
Right.
God damn, that was a dumb show.
Yeah.
People were just different back then. It's like if you ever wanted proof that people
The
are
80s.
evolving rapidly, watch 80s TV shows, like drama shows.
The 80s was a special time, man. There's so
MacGyver.
many things. There's so many things 80s. Miami Vice.
Yes.
Right? There's so many things 80s that were just 80s.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
But
Miami Vice.
Miami Vice, man. Didn't he, what do you have, a Lamborghini or something like that? Or some
Ferrari Testarossa.
Yeah, Testarossa. That
white
was it.
one,
yeah,
remember?
the white Testarossa with the things on the side. The
Crockett and Tubbs.
Yep.
So,
And
what
they
happened
used
to
to
the
work-
other dude?
I don't know. Yeah, it had
look
the
at them.
pastel suits.
Yes, with no socks. They had no socks on. Always. Look at them. Loafers, no socks. Not a bad show back. That was a Ferrari, that car.
Yeah.
That was a different Ferrari. I think that was what he had early. He had that one, and then he got the Testarossa.
That's weird being the other guy, though, right?
Oh, it's
Like
gotta
Don
suck.
Johnson, entire career,
Gotta suck.
and then you're the. What were we watching? There was some. Transformers was on, right? And you know, in the first scene in the Transformers, when they're in the desert, and it's like there's like 5 military guys, you know, and then the first 3 that get killed, I was like, imagine being one of those guys, and then you watch Tyrese Gibson and the other guy go on to this billion-dollar franchise, and like you got killed in the first scene, like you're like, why didn't I live?
Yeah.
By the way, I've been that guy in a few movies.
How many movies have you done?
I haven't done many. I've done maybe 5. I am very strict in my casting. I can be a security guard or a bouncer. I played a security guard as a bouncer, and
Well, when you think about those kind of shows, like Fast and the Furious, like those movies, how the fuck did that happen? How do those movies make that much money?
it's a simple formula
But how many people are buying that simple formula over and over again? How is that happening?
because it's almost like a cartoon, right? Listen, when first Fast and Furious came out, it's like, okay, we got cars, we got women, we got guns. Do we even need a script? Do we even need a script? Just turn it loose. And that's what every movie, right? That's
Yep.
like, yeah, just make the cars bigger, make the guns bigger, make the guys bigger.
Drifting.
Right?
Yeah.
The
Jacked.
women are hotter.
Yep.
If you watch the Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, apparently every schoolgirl in Japan is wearing a Catholic school miniskirt at all times. Right?
Tokyo Drift.
But it works. It's a simple formula.
Look at the amount of money it made.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, 1,518,722,794.
Yes.
What in the fuck?
Yes.
Worldwide does way better does here.
Oh my God, that's
Way
so.
better.
That's the one movie. That's
How
the
much-
Fast and the Furious 7.
Right.
One movie made that much money.
But look at, I mean,
2 of their movies made over $1 billion.
yeah, why wouldn't they? Though it's a cartoon formula that works.
That's amazing.
It's a formula that works.
Look
It's
at the total.
Flashy,
It's almost 6 billion worldwide.
flashy, beauty. Yeah, stuff like that. You know, yeah. How could it not work? How could it not work? You know.
Yeah. Oh. All right.
And if I told you I'm the head writer, if I told you I wrote the Fast and Furious, how are you going to prove me wrong?
Listen, man, I love muscle cars and I hate those movies. So what does that say?
But that was part of the first movies were muscle versus tuner, right?
Right.
They even got you. They got you in the beginning. You got the muscle car. No, what I'm saying is
But
they got
didn't.
the muscle car guy.
Yeah, they got the muscle cars, but they didn't get me. I was like,
right.
what is this movie?
No, not you, but you know what I'm saying. But they
Right.
got the muscle car fans in the beginning.
They don't have that anymore?
Vin Diesel drove the muscle car all the time, right? He had that Dodge or Chrysler, whatever it was.
It's a Dodge.
Yeah,
Stayed cool.
he had that through like the first 3 movies, right?
How do you know so much about these movies?
Oh, I love watching those, man. Joe, I love bad movies, man.
Do you?
Biker Boys. Thank you. Biker Boys has to be one of the. I just turned someone onto it. It's Lawrence Fishburne in a motorcycle drag racing movie.
What?
It's
when was this
fantastic.
made?
And it's not just him. Orlando
83?
2003.
Orlando Jones is in. Look, that's Orlando Jones right there.
Oh
that is
my
Orlando.
God.
Look at Lawrence. Are you kidding?
Lawrence Fishburne?
Kid Rock. Kid Rock is in the. Kid Rock
Oh my
runs the
God.
white biker gang.
What is this?
Oh yeah. Oh.
What is this?
Oh.
It's a world fueled by power. Oh my God. I might just found my new favorite movie. Holy shit, this looks bad.
That's there's Kid Rock with a dog collar.
Oh my God.
Kid
he's
Rock
got
and a dog
collar. Oh my, it's a life driven by respect. Oh my God. Wait a minute. That's a black dude with a motorcycle vest on from a gang. He's got a black dude in the Hells Angels. What? They have the same kind of motorcycle vest as like Hells Angels do, which is so silly.
Yeah, Lorenz Tate right there.
Oh my God, this looks bad.
Oh.
Ready, set, go.
Yeah, man, I love bad car and bike movies. I love those, and the other bad movies I like, the badass chick, like she kicks everyone's ass, but it's like a bad movie, but she's badass going through it. Whenever they're like, they hit me with "you may also like," I'm
Charlie's
like, you
Angels.
damn right, I may also like. I want to see it. I want to see it. Yes, you may also like. You're damn right. I'm gonna.
Oh my God.
I love. Yeah, Biker Boys and Torque fight.
Torque's another one?
Torque and Biker Boys were the same movie. They tried to do a Fast and Furious on motorcycles.
Oh
they
my
had
God.
Now Torque stars Ice Cube and it's like there's a white biker group and a black biker group, and Ice Cube's in it, and Dane is in it. Dane Cook's in it, and they were horrible. But they were comic, and as a motorcycle rider, they're even better because it's even worse. You know what I mean?
Because you can point out what's horseshit about
oh
it.
man, it was so much fun. Drag racing.
Look at this.
There you go.
Wow, that looks fake.
Yeah.
This isn't even the trailer. This is
That's
a scene
Torque
from the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, look.
That's him driving.
That bike that was actually made. Leno has one of
it's
those. It's a
blowing all the-
jet-powered
oh,
motorcycle. That's a
Oh,
jet-powered
my
It doesn't fly
God.
like that, but what the hell? Why
That's
not?
that dude who was in 30 Days of Nights.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, he's a bad guy in a lot of movies. He's
Yeah.
really good as a bad guy.
Yeah. Come on, man. How do you not watch this? Look at this.
Easy.
Look at Oh, come on.
No way I'm watching this. Are they shooting at each other?
Yes, of course
Okay,
they're
I can't
shooting.
do this.
Of course
I
they're
can't do
shooting at each other in downtown L.A.
Alonzo.
And you get to see the bullet.
I can't. Dude, it's already been 3 hours, believe it or
Oh,
not.
man.
How
Listen,
quickly does time fly by?
everybody who's out there, I got to tell, next Thursday, May 7th, I'm at the doing a virtual comedy show, okay, at the nowherecomedyclub.com. We were going to talk about this. I'm telling you now.
We talked about it earlier a little bit.
Yeah, please check it out, though. Nowherecomedyclub.com. It's what we were talking about. I'm doing comedy from my living room as if there's a crowd, and you guys will be the virtual crowd, and we'll have a great time with that. Joe, I love this, man. Thank you.
My pleasure, brother.
You tested
Always.
me. I'm negative. I'm
That's
happy
nice.
about that.
Nice to hear, isn't it?
This was fantastic.
Weight
Now
off your back.
you're going to watch Biker Boys because it's in your head now.
I think I will.
It's in your head,
I
and
think
you're
I
going to
must.
have to
I don't know
see
about
it.
Torque, but Biker
No,
Boys.
you're going to
I'm in.
have to see Biker Boys, and you're going to have to see Lawrence Fishburne drag racing a motorcycle on a farm on a dirt road because that's where you drag race, right?
A farm on a dirt. Okay, I don't want to know anymore. What's your Instagram? Tell everybody. Everything
Instagram,
is-
ZoFunny. Everything else is at Alonzo Bodden.
So it's only Instagram that's so funny.
Only Instagram. And notebooks. We didn't even get to talk about that. We're both in
Oh, yeah.
Owen Smith's notebooks. What we love.
Yeah.
So many people love that to see what we did at the beginning.
Yeah, you can see
of
how
our
bad we
career.
sucked.
Oh man, we were bad.
Terrible.
We were bad. But I wasn't Biker Boys bad.
I'm gonna watch it.
How did I not get
I've
it?
got
When you
plenty
watch
of
that
time.
movie, you're gonna be, how's Alonzo not in this movie?
I love you, brother. Thank
I
you
love
for being
you,
here,
man.
man.
Thank you so
Bye,
much,
everybody.
Joe.